watches them quietly, sensing they're contemplating desertion. Gal makes the decision they're returning to the Alliance. Jiang is stunned. Return to the very people who just tried to poison them in a demon forest. But Gal starts to explain his plan. If they vanish now, their leader will brand them as traitors and hunt them to the ends of the continent. But if they return, they can force the leader's hand out in the open. It's a huge gamble, but it's their only shot at protecting the squad's honor. The soldiers listen intently. All eyes turn to Jiang. He looks at his men and asks simply, "Do you trust me?" Their response is unanimous. They would follow the old soldier into hell itself. Seeing this, Leiddon can't help but smile. This is exactly what he was hoping for, a loyal unit that despises the current leadership. Jiang thanks his men, visibly moved by their loyalty. Jiang turns to Gal, affirming his trust as well. Then he tells Leiddon to speak his mind freely. He's officially part of the inner circle now. Gal warns Jiang that their leader will use any excuse to tarnish his name. Jiang nods grimly. He knows the game. Leiddon then adds his 2 cents. He points out that the leader is banking on the fact that Jiang is too honorable to run and hide. That very honor is Jiang's greatest strength, but the Alliance sees it as his greatest weakness. They're counting on him to bring about his own downfall. Gal agrees completely. When they get back, the Alliance won't dare to make a move right away. They'll be too busy wondering how the squad managed to survive. That caution will make them hesitate, and hesitation creates openings. Gal tells Jiang to act as normal as possible, but to be ready for an assassin lurking in every shadow. Jiang then looks at Leiddon. "Will you trust me too, kid?" Leiddon looks at the old man, and for a moment he sees the living legend he once admired. "I will." The squad turns and heads back toward the Alliance. They're walking straight into the lion's den, but now for the first time the lion has a reason to be afraid. A heavy night falls over the sword incense forest. The campfires are burning low as the survivors of the Qian gang squad finally get some much-needed rest. Gal is sitting by the fire, a look on his face like he's trying to solve a Rubik's Cube in his head. He's staring into the flames, probably replaying the last 24 hours of How Am I Still Alive? I Saw Chains on a loop. Leiddon walks up, noticing his boss is pulling an all-nighter. "Can't sleep, sir." Gal admits that while his body is exhausted, his brain is running at 100 miles an hour. He looks over at Leiddon, and you can practically see the wheels turning. Ever since they left the pagoda, Gal has been re-evaluating Leiddon, and the facts just don't add up for a mere rookie. And yet, at the same time, a spark has returned to Gal's eyes. Even Leiddon can tell that his commander looks different somehow. The broken strategist finally has that fire back in his eyes. Gal tries to play it cool, saying Leiddon is just imagining things, but Leiddon isn't buying it for a second. He's seen that exact look on the faces of legendary masters before. It's the look of a man who has just found a new reason to fight. Gal goes quiet for a moment before addressing the elephant in the room. He tells Leiddon that for a first mission, he truly went above and beyond. Leiddon just drops the standard, "I was just lucky," NPC-style dialogue. It's his go-to excuse. But then Gal's expression turns serious, and he tells Leiddon straight up, "The Alliance wants you dead." Leiddon just nods. "Yeah, I figured." Gal then offers him an out. He tells Leiddon that staying by his side is a death wish, and offers to transfer him to a safer department when they get back. Leiddon looks at him, and for a brief moment the polite merchant mask slips. "I wish to remain by your side, sir." Gal is taken aback. He insists this isn't a decision to be made lightly or out of politeness. He asks if Leiddon truly isn't afraid of what's coming. Leiddon doesn't even flinch. "Why?" Gal asks. Why would such a talented kid willingly tie himself to a sinking ship? Leiddon simply replies that even though he hasn't served long, his mind is made up. Gal searches his face for any hint of a lie, but all he finds is pure, unwavering conviction. He asks if Leiddon can really place his trust in a man the world has already given up on. Leiddon flips the script right back at him. "Can you trust me?" Gal realizes this kid has already saved his life 3 times. If he can't trust Leiddon, who can he trust? He places a firm hand on Leiddon's shoulder. "Thank you for staying with me." Leiddon smiles. Recruitment successful. He's officially got the Alliance's greatest strategist in his pocket. As dawn breaks, the campfire has dwindled to mere ashes. The camp begins to stir, but an unsettling feeling hangs in the air. Leiddon, leaning against a tree, narrows his eyes. He detects a faint yet heavy presence, like a storm gathering, just beyond the tree line. While the archers are still shaking off their sleep, Leiddon is already on high alert. He realizes this powerful presence is a challenge, a call meant only for a high-level master. As Leiddon starts walking into the mist, a soldier calls out, asking where he's going. Leiddon simply flashes a reassuring smile and tells the soldier he'll be right back. He ventures into the dense fog, moving deftly between the rocks as he tracks the source of the key. In a clearing ahead, a lone figure awaits him. It's an old man with long white hair, looking like he just stepped straight out of a final boss cutscene. The old man begins to speak in metaphors, comparing the situation to desert quicksand. Once you step in, he warns there is no escape. It devours everything, he says, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. He radiates an immense pressure enough to make an ordinary warrior collapse. He fixes his gaze on Leon, calling him a monster who consumes all he touches. Leon scans the man. The face is unfamiliar, but the aura is one he recognizes. The old man continues saying there is a way to avoid the quicksand. Just walk the safe path that others have made, he advises. In response, Leon gives him a slight smirk. I'm a bit more adventurous than that, Leon retorts. I'd rather not follow a path someone else has already paved. The old man questions if this is due to greed, thinking Leiddon simply wants to surpass everyone else. He calls Leiddon's ambition desirable, but adds that it's a pity. What is, Leiddon asks. Because you've already stepped into the quicksand. The old man's eyes flare with killing intent, but Leiddon just smiles. Didn't you say it yourself? Leon counters. Once you fall in, you can never escape. The old man is losing his patience and demands to know who Leiddon really is. A new officer, Leon replies coolly. The old man actually pauses for a moment, then bursts out laughing. He scoffs. If someone like you were just a recruit, the entire martial world would be turned upside down. He asks again, so who are you? Leon answers, someone trying to replace his superior. Leon clarifies his intentions. He holds no personal grudge against men like Gao or Yang. I'm simply here to prune the branches of a rotting tree, he explains. At this, the old man's chi erupts. Who is behind you, tell me, and I will grant you a clean death. The ground itself shakes as the old man draws his blade, unleashing a swirl of violet energy. Leon stands his ground unfazed. Who's behind me? You'll find out soon enough. With that, Leon decides to stop holding back. Pale blue lightning arcs across his body as he draws his own sword. The two immense auras collide, creating a shockwave that blows the fog away for miles. The old man is stunned. Leon is so young, yet his aura is absolutely gargantuan. He can't believe Leon was hiding this level of power the entire time. Leon's eyes turn icy cold. The martial god has entered the chat. The old man realizes Leon is a threat to the entire world order and must be eliminated here and now. Leon just smirks. Anyone hearing you would think you're trying to save me, Leon quips. The old man screams and lunges, but Leon leans back, dodging the strike by a mere hair's breadth. Steel meets steel, the impact sending a shower of sparks into the trees. The forest itself is torn asunder as their powerful energies clash. The resulting explosion of light looks like a supernova. They're locked in a fierce power struggle, their faces just inches apart. The old man pushes back, desperately searching for an opening before launching a series of rapid-fire strikes. Leiddon deflects every single one with the effortless grace of someone who's been doing this for 1,000 years. The old man is growing desperate. He pours all his remaining energy into one massive vertical slash, but Leiddon catches the blade with his own. The resulting shockwave shatters the ground beneath them. As the duel reaches its peak, they move so fast they appear as mere phantoms in the mist. Leon calmly analyzes every movement, searching for that one perfect opening. In contrast, the old man is already breathing heavily. He can't believe this kid is matching him blow for blow. Leon spins his blade, creating a high-pitched whistle that sounds like a scream. They break apart for a brief moment, catching their breath. The old man is completely losing his composure. He wonders where the Alliance could possibly have raised such a monster. Leon then begins a low humming spin, and the old man's eyes go wide with shock. He recognizes that particular sound of the wind. He's seen this technique before a very long time ago. A literal tornado of blade chi starts to form around Leiddon. Leon's face is obscured by the swirling steel as he announces his technique, Fifth Form Wheel Severing Strike. The old man attempts to block, but it's like trying to stop a hurricane with a toothpick. His guard is shattered in an instant. The vortex of blade chi shreds his robes and hurls him backward. As he's sent flying, he hears that unique whistling wind again, and it finally clicks. You are Cheon Huajin's disciple. He gasps. He then mutters that even if the former leader were to return from the dead, he couldn't stop what's coming. The attack connects, and the old man is completely obliterated in a brilliant flash of light. The tornado of energy dissipates. Silence returns to the forest. Leon stands calmly, his sword already sheathed. He reflects that the old man was skilled enough to force him to use his fifth form. However, the fact that he recognized the technique is a problem to be dealt with later. A few days later, the squad has secured some carriages and is finally on the road back to the Alliance. Leiddon is sitting inside with Gao, and the vibe is a whole lot more relaxed now. Leiddon asks a question that's been bugging him. What exactly was the Shinryong operation? Leiddon feigns curiosity, but internally he's dying to know what his subordinates were doing behind his back. Gal just gives a small nostalgic smirk. He says it was a mission from back when he was a rookie, just like Leiddon. It was the mission to make Tian Hunen the strongest person in the world, and the alliance leader. Leiddon has to act surprised. Gal explains that they planned for months. They did a deep dive on everything about their future leader, what he fought, what he ate, and even his favorite color. They were basically the world's first stands. Leiddon is genuinely shocked. He had no idea his men put in that much effort just to make him look good. Gal says seeing the youngest leader in history made him dream a little. He wanted to change the martial world right alongside him. That was the moment Gal started rising through the ranks. I truly like the alliance leader, he adds. Leiddon is floored. Those are words he never once heard in his previous life. He'd always thought everyone just feared him. What did you like about him? Gal pauses. Because he was clumsy. Leiddon's brain just reboots. Gal explains that while the martial god was terrifying in battle in his everyday life, he was a complete mess, awkward, and socially inept. He was clumsy, Gal repeats. Leiddon asks for specifics, feeling his own face get hot. Gal laughs, saying there are too many examples to list, but making that man the leader was the happiest moment of his life. Leiddon closes his eyes, a small, genuine smile forming on his face. He's finally starting to understand why he can't give up on people like Gal. They arrive at the Alliance where the main hall stands massive and intimidating. Meanwhile, back in the leader's office, a calligraphy brush stops mid-stroke. The messenger looks absolutely terrified. Gano has disappeared. Maongi is frozen. What do you mean, vanished? The messenger says they lost contact with him during the mission. Maongi is seething. He can't believe an elite shadow master could just drop off the map like that. He insists Gano can't be dead. He wouldn't die to a mere squad leader like Yong. He asks about the mission itself. The messenger confirms it failed. The Changong squad returned safely. Maongi is doing the math in his head. Even if the entire squad jumped Gono, he should have easily survived. There was one variable he hadn't considered. He looks at the name Gal Sarang. He figures Gal must have laid a reverse trap, still completely oblivious to Leiddon's presence. He immediately orders a full investigation. Cut to the throne room where Zhang Qianra walks in and gives a formal bow. Maongi is sitting on his high throne, looking like a cat that just swallowed a bee. Good work, he says flatly. I hear there were some issues, Maongi probes. Zhang keeps it professional. Yes, we went to the location, but no one was there. Zhang suggests the intelligence was either false or the defector was taken out beforehand. Maongi is just staring at him, probably wondering why Zhang isn't full of holes. He glances over at Gal, who is standing nearby, looking perfectly and unnervingly calm. Maongi is seething internally. I assumed they would all die. He mentions the ambush is trying to see if anyone will slip up. Meanwhile, Gal whispers to Zhang, act like you know nothing. Don't mention Leiddon. Maongi then gives a fake speech about how terribly unfortunate the mission's failure was. He tells everyone to stay alert for the demon cult's return. The room gives a synchronized shout of understood inet. Maongi dismisses them, telling Zhang to go and get some rest. Zhang bows and leaves his face a stone mask. The second they turn their backs, Maongi's expression shifts to pure, unadulterated rage. He glares at his advisors, his eyes narrowing to slits. Zhang walks out, his jaw set grimly. As the squad leaves the hall, they step into a courtyard full of watching eyes. The internal war within the Alliance has officially begun. We're back at the heart of the Murim Alliance, where Leiddon is playing the part of a diligent intern, taking notes while Gal manages the office. The door slides open with that heavy, the boss just walked in sound. It's Simma, the supreme advisor. He immediately grabs Gal's hands, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of, I'm so glad you're not dead. Leiddon is just staring at the back of this guy's head, thinking about how he literally ordered Gal's execution just 48 hours ago. Honestly, the audacity is impressive. Gal keeps it professional, thanking him, and dryly promising to submit a report on why he failed to die as planned. Simma puts a hand on Gal's shoulder, playing the part of a concerned mentor. He tells Gal to take his time since he must be terribly shocked. In response, Gal drops a little bait. He says the mission confirmed one thing without a doubt. The demon cult is definitely plotting a comeback. Simma's eyes narrow for just a split second. He clearly wasn't expecting them to actually find anything. He quickly fakes a gasp, exclaiming, that is terrifying news. Gal looks back at him with a face that says it all, I know you're lying, and you know that I know you're lying. Gal then bows and promises to devote his entire being to the cause. You could cut the tension in this room with a knife. Simma dismisses him, telling him to get some rest. As Gal walks out, Leiddon follows, keeping an eye on Simma's reflection. The second the door closes, Simma's fake smile melts away. He stalks down the hallway, radiating pure salt. He's grinding his teeth so hard they might just shatter. He simply can't fathom how they survived, and we get a peek into his twisted logic. He intentionally sent Gal on that suicide mission, hoping to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But now both birds have come back to roost, and his own neck is on the line. He starts to panic, worrying that if the Alliance leader and his backers couldn't eliminate them, they might begin to question his competence. Damn it, he's officially spiraling. Just then someone calls out his name. He instantly snaps back into his Supreme Advisor persona. It's Chamo from the Enforcement Hall. He informs him that the Leader Hall is dispatching an investigator to look into the incident. Sima Qian blinks in surprise. To investigate Galsarang, Chamo confirms it. Sima Qian plays it cool, acting as if he's fine with it, but internally, his brain is screaming. He realizes that normally his own department would be the one to handle this. The fact that the leader is sending a separate investigator can only mean one thing: the big boss is starting to lose trust in him. He knows that if they find even a single shred of proof that he tampered with the mission, it's game over. He misses his old enforcer, Joe B., the guy Leiddon killed several chapters ago. He has no one left that he can trust with the dirty work. Cut to Leiddon in the library. He's poring over the formation book he looted, contemplating his next move. He knows he can't go after the leader just yet, so he decides to start by taking out the leader's right-hand man, Sima Qian. But Sima Qian is a high-ranking official. You can't just kill him. You have to utterly ruin him. Leiddon then remembers the evidence he uncovered in the secret chamber. He recalls that one specific detail from earlier. That's right. Cut to a secret meeting later that night. Gal is waiting in the shadows. When Leiddon arrives, Gal asks why they have to meet in such a sketchy location. Leiddon hands him a dossier explaining that he, coincidentally, found proof that Sima Qian was running a criminal courtesan house with Joe B. Gal remembers the case. Everyone involved was arrested, but Sima Qian walked free due to a lack of evidence. Leiddon points out that Simma denied even knowing the guy, but these documents are the smoking gun. They prove Joe B. was Simma's personal hitman for years. Gal is floored. This isn't just a scandal, it's a career ender. Leiddon suggests they use this to permanently delete Simma from the company roster. Gal is all for it. Kidnapping children for profit is a one-way ticket to the executioner's block, and since Simma was the one protecting him, he's going down with him. Leiddon looks at Gal, waiting for the go-ahead. Gal warns him that it won't be easy, as the leader will surely try to protect his assets. Leiddon is well aware. In fact, he knows that if they aren't careful, Gal will be the one who gets eliminated first. Gal says they'll need a decisive opening move. Move as you please. Gal tells him, I will protect your back. Gal gets to work immediately preparing the trap for Simma. He uses the threat of the demon cult as a pretext to send the archer leader Yang away for special training. It's a training regimen that conveniently lasts for several months and takes place far outside the city. This effectively moves Yang out of Maongi's immediate assassination range. Meanwhile, Leiddon is busy mastering the phantom vanishing art from the Pegatei book. It's a high-tier magic technique disguised as a martial art. A few days later, Gal returns to Leiddon's room. I have found a way to eliminate Simma, Gal announces. Leiddon just gives him that smug, all according to plan smile. Gal thinks to himself that Leiddon truly never disappoints. Cut to a serene pavilion overlooking the water. The atmosphere is deceptively peaceful, which in this manhwa means someone is about to get completely wrecked. Simma is sipping tea, looking stressed out when Chamo from the enforcement hall arrives. Simma asks why Chamo summoned him to such a secluded place. Chamo simply hands him a book. Simma opens it and his soul basically leaves his body. The book contains a 4K Ultra HD record of every single bribe murder and shady deal Sima Qian has ever made. He puts the book down, struggling to keep his hands from shaking. What do you want? He asks. Chamo casually mentions the rumor that Internal Affairs is investigating. Then he adds that there's someone who needs to be removed. He's looking at Sima Qian the way a predator eyes a wounded rabbit. The hunter has just become the hunted. Just another day at the Alliance headquarters. Sima Qian is at his desk, likely researching which countries have the best non-extradition treaties. An aide bursts into the room reporting that the Justice Pavilion enforcers are demanding entry to the Hall of Righteousness. Simma actually smirks. He assumes they're here to arrest Galsarang and believes his own plan has succeeded. Let them in. He commands, sounding like a man who just won the lottery. The doors are thrown open with a bang. A squad of black-clad enforcers marches in, led by a man who looks like he hasn't smiled since the Clinton administration. Simma leans back in his chair, acting all high and mighty. What is the matter? Simma asks. The leader of the squad introduces himself, Huang, the deputy chief enforcer. He then slaps 2 warrants down on the desk. 1 warrant for arrest and 1 for a search. Huang asks if they may proceed. Simma, still playing his part, grandly declares that, of course, as the grand strategist, he will offer his full cooperation. Escort him at once, Simma orders, pointing dramatically toward the office where he assumes Gal is waiting. Model. The enforcers don't head for Gal's office. Instead, they march right over to Simon's, leaving him completely baffled. "Wait, where are you going?" he calls out, but they start tossing his office like a frat house during a police raid. He screams, "Why are you doing this here?" Go to Gal Sareng's office. The lead enforcer just gives him a deadpan look. "We told you," he says flatly. "We have a warrant." Simon's voice hits a new octave. For Gal, Hong just blinks. He states they have 0 orders to investigate Gal. They're here, specifically for the Supreme Advisor. Simon snatches the warrant, his eyes nearly popping out of his head. He's sweating bullets now. He just can't process how the tables have turned so completely, a perfect Uno reverse card. He tries to pull rank, demanding to know if they even understand what they're doing. "We are merely following orders," Hong replies. The coldest sentence in any legal system. They grab Simon by the arms. He tries to shake them off, yelling that he'll go on his own. Gal Sareng is watching the whole spectacle from his doorway, looking like the cat that ate the canary, the canary's entire family, and the canary's lawyer. Cut to Cha Mo, the advisor from the earlier meeting. He looks conflicted, but he's smart enough to know which way the wind is blowing. In a flashback to their secret meeting, Cha Mo is sweating buckets as Gal lays out his plan. Gal says he wants to discuss something important. Your life. Talk about a conversation starter. Cha Mo flinches. He tries to play it tough, telling Gal he's spouting nonsense. Gal cuts him off. Have you already forgotten? Gal tells him to shut up and listen before he gets himself killed. Back in the present, Simon is in the interrogation room, demanding to see the Lord. The investigator pays him no mind, simply flipping through the documents Leiddon provided. Simon demands to know how they plan to deal with the consequences of arresting him. The investigator coolly replies that Simon should be more worried about his own situation. At this, Simon starts throwing a full-blown tantrum, calling the investigator an insolent brat. Then the investigator drops a name, Joe Bach. He points out that Simon entrusted a significant number of matters to this known criminal. Simon immediately goes silent. His eyes drift towards the wall, and sure enough, Gal Sareng is standing on the other side of the one-way glass, watching him squirm. Gal is loving every single second of this. Back in the flashback, Gal hands a dossier over to Cha Mo. He explains that it contains a full record of the enforcement chief's own misconduct. Cha Mo instantly realizes he's been checkmated. Every misdeed, every bribe, every single mistake, it's all recorded in high-definition detail. Gal even looked into his eating habits and the type of women he prefers. Our guy Leiddon is a professional hater. Back in the present, Simon looks over and finally sees Gal standing there. The two rivals stare at each other through the observation glass. Simon tries to act like he still has a card left to play. He asks if the alliance leader is really not going to intervene. Gal just gives him a pitying look. To the Lord, Simon is already a discarded piece on the board. Gal points out that because Simon was so close to the Lord, he's actually the most dangerous loose end to leave alive. The truth hits Simon like a ton of bricks. He knows far too many secrets. He looks deep into Gal's eyes. He finally realizes the meek strategist he's been bullying for years was just a mask. "You are a frightening man," he whispers. Gal leans in closer. Then he reveals a secret. He was the one who put Simon in that high-ranking position all those years ago. Simon's brain does a complete backflip. His entire career, he was nothing but a puppet. Gal explains that as long as they were in the same boat, everything was fine. But Simon tried to sink the boat. Gal tells him to remember one thing before he dies. "I am Gal Sareng, the man who served the Martial God and unified the world." With that, Simon is officially broken. Cut to the Lord's Hall. Maongi is being confronted by his other subordinates. They're demanding Simon's release. Maongi just stares into the distance, looking completely bored. One of the advisors tells him he's nothing but a scarecrow leader if he can't even protect his own men. Maongi finally speaks. "I am nothing of the sort." He looks at them with eyes that could freeze boiling water. He realizes they are openly questioning his authority. He notes how their attitude toward him has changed and asks why the enforcement chief suddenly decided to go rogue. He speculates that Simon might have discovered their existence and asks if they intend to use this situation to tear off his wings. Maongi's face becomes a mask of pure malice. He smiles. Then he says he'll issue the command for Simon's release himself. Very well, he says. Then you can speak to him directly. Him, one asks. Maungi says he'll allow them to meet the very person they've been so eager to see. He gives a wide, creepy grin as a silhouette materializes in the dark. The true mastermind, the one pulling the Alliance leader's strings, finally steps out of the shadows. Meanwhile, we're back dealing with the fallout of the Simon disaster. Gal Sarong is sitting at his desk, and let's be honest, he looks 10 years younger now that the snake is finally in a cage. He congratulates Leiddon because without our guy, none of this sweet justice would have been possible. But take a look at Gal's face. He's not just happy, he's genuinely grateful. He tells Leiddon that he never could have succeeded on his own. And he's being 100% sincere. Leiddon just gives him a respectful bow and says, "You're too kind." But internally, he's having a major flashback. That specific phrase, "you're too kind," is exactly what he'd say to his subordinates in his previous life whenever they praised him. It's a reflex at this point. He's actually smiling, and it's one of those rare moments where we see him getting genuinely nostalgic for the good old days, before he died from a heart attack caused by too much paperwork. Suddenly, a knock at the door ruins the vibe. A woman enters, and the atmosphere in the room shifts instantly. Gal goes from relaxed mentor back to war strategist in a heartbeat. Meet number 7. She's an investigator sent directly by the Alliance leader, and she's not here for a chat. Gal asks if she's from the law enforcement hall, but she corrects him, saying she's on a special assignment to look into the Heavenly Archer Corps incident. Gal is completely stunned. The Alliance leader himself sent her. That means the big boss is skipping the usual bureaucracy and handling things personally. She asks for the report meant for the Supreme Advisor. She's professional, cold, and clearly outranks almost everyone in the building. Gal hands it over without a fight. You don't say no to the leader's personal shadow. Leon introduces himself as the newly appointed advisor, trying to keep up the just a talented intern act. She just stares at him. No, nice to meet you. No smile, just a cold assessment of his existence. They lock eyes for a second, and Leon realizes she isn't just a clerk, she's a predator. She takes the file, thanks them for their cooperation, and heads out. The door shuts, and the silence in the room is heavy. Gal watches her leave and admits he's surprised the Alliance leader is still so interested in the Heavenly Archer Corps matter. He warns Leon to be careful around her. He can sense that number 7 is no ordinary woman, and in the Murim, that usually means she can kill you with a spoon. Leon agrees. He can tell Gal's instincts are sharp. They both know a high-level threat when they see one, but there's no time to worry about her because another guard bursts in with an urgent message. The Alliance leader is calling for Galarang, right now. Leon and Gal share a look. Usually when the big boss calls you right after you arrest his favorite advisor, it means someone is about to get cooked. Cut to the Alliance leaders' hall. The dragon banners are flying and the vibe is final boss arena. Gal enters and gives the formal greeting. He's walking into the lion's den, but he's doing it with his head held high. The Alliance leader, Mabongi, is standing there looking out the window. He tells Gal to come in, but his voice is weirdly soft. Gal notices it immediately. His attitude has completely changed. Bongi isn't acting like a tyrant. He's acting like someone who needs a favor. He starts this whole, "I know you've gone through a lot," speech, trying to sound like a caring boss. He puts a hand on Gal's shoulder and says he had his own position to consider, which is basically, "Sorry I let Simma Cheon torture you for years." He claims he had to be mindful of Simma's reaction, so he couldn't take care of Gal. It's a complete lie, but Gal plays along, saying just hearing that is enough. Bongi leads him over to a table, and the tone shifts from political meeting to an uncomfortable dinner with your toxic ex-boss. There's a full spread of food, tofu, pork, the works. He's really trying to butter Gal up. He pours a drink for Gal. This is peak manipulation. In this world, the guy in charge doesn't pour for a subordinate unless something insane is about to happen. Bongi admits he's being shameless for asking, but then he drops the bomb he asks for Gal's help. He's literally begging his most abused strategist to save him. Gal is playing the confused loyalist role, perfectly asking what he means. Bongi looks him in the eye and asks him to become the supreme advisor of the Murim Alliance once again. Gal acts shocked, but, inside he's thinking, it's about time. He's trying to figure out the game. What does this man plan to use him for? He says it's just so unexpected keeping the act up. Bongi tells him to forget any resentment from the past. He even offers to apologize. The Alliance leader is offering a formal apology to a subordinate. That is a massive L for his pride. He says he's asking this for the sake of the Alliance, not himself. Classic, it's for the greater good move when you're actually just scared. But Gal realizes the truth. Something has happened to Mabongi. He's not acting like a leader. He's acting like a man who is being hunted. Gal thinks this might be related to the Shadow faction. He's been chasing the ones who are actually pulling the strings of the Murim. He asks Bongye what exactly he needs help with. Bongye's face darkens. He looks genuinely stressed, which is wild for a man who basically runs the entire martial world. He finally reveals it. There's a faction that pushed for him to become alliance leader, and now those same people are pressuring him. He's being blackmailed by his own creators. Gal presses him. Who are they to dare pressure the alliance leader himself? He wants a name. Bongye admits he doesn't actually know. He'd heard a rumor that they were backing him, and shortly after he magically became the leader, they never even contacted him in advance. They just made it happen. Now that's some terrifying power. Gal is skeptical. It's hard to believe, but Bongye doesn't seem like he's lying. He genuinely has no idea who is pulling his strings. Bongye mentions the Bright Moon Corps leader supported him, but now he knows for certain that was just a front. There's someone behind that leader, a shadow mastermind who has installed Bongye as a puppet to plot something massive. And now the shadows have finally expressed their intent to meet. They didn't ask. They told him to come to them. Gal goes quiet, processing the sheer scale of this conspiracy. Then he looks up and tells Bongye, "Tell them you'll go." Gal thinks they cannot afford to miss this chance to see the enemy pulling the strings. If they don't go now, the enemy stays invisible forever. Bongye is hesitant. "You're seriously telling me to go to the place they named?" He's terrified it's a setup. He asks, "What happens if it's a trap?" Gal gives him a brutal reality check. He says if those people truly wanted Bongye dead, not even the Alliance headquarters would be safe. With so many other organizations already infiltrated, Bongye is basically living in a glass house. The location doesn't matter. What's important is confirming who the opponent really is. Bongye is sweating bullets. He knows Gal is right, but that doesn't make it any less scary. Gal reminds him that the most troublesome kind of enemy in the jianghu isn't the strong one, but the unseen one. If they let this opportunity slip, they might never find them again. Bongye realizes this was probably why the shadows wanted Galariang removed in the first place. He's the only one smart enough to figure them out. He officially asks, "Will you take up the position of Supreme Advisor?" Gal doesn't hesitate. He clasps his hands. "As the Supreme Advisor, I will personally serve you, Alliance Leader." He's back in the game, but this time he's really working for Leiddon. The look in Gal's eyes is different now. He's not a victim anymore. He's a hunter. Later, Gal meets with Leiddon and tells him the news. Leiddon gives him a congratulatory bow with a huge fake innocent smile. Gal plays along, saying it was truly unexpected. Leiddon tells him it's a position he should have had a long time ago. He's basically saying, "Nice work, let's keep the momentum going." But Gal has more. He says he has a favor to ask of Leiddon. Leiddon looks curious. "Become my supervising advisor." Leon's face drops. Pardon, he did not see that promotion coming. This role involves assisting the Supreme Advisor from the closest possible position. It's basically being the second most powerful strategist in the Alliance. And because they work so closely, it has to be someone the Supreme Advisor trusts completely. Leiddon is sweating now. This is a bold appointment. He wanted to hide in the shadows, but Gal just dragged him right into the spotlight. Gal tells him it sounds grand, but it's really just supporting him at his side. He's not taking no for an answer. "Will you do me this favor?" Gal is literally using Leon's own loyalty against him. Leiddon realizes he's trapped by his own success. He bows and says he will devote himself fully to aiding Gal. He's an intern who just skipped about 10 ranks in a single day. Gal looks satisfied. He knows he just secured his best asset, but there's no time to celebrate. He tells Leiddon he already has his first mission. They have to go somewhere together with the Alliance leader. Leon's face goes serious. The former trash merchant is about to meet the people who might have killed him in his previous life. Chapter 1. 100. Baby, we've hit the triple digits. We open in a dark atmospheric hall. The lighting is moody, and the vibes are total evil organization headquarters. We see a report being delivered. It says Galjiang seems to be connected to Gano's death. The shadows are already tracking them. The man listening is silent. The scarred subordinate delivering the news is sweating. He doesn't understand why there is no reaction at all. Usually when your puppet leader starts hanging out with a genius strategist, you get worried. He adds that Ma Bongye and Gao Xiang have left the alliance together. Their destination, the Namyan Escort Agency in Jianghu Province. The subordinate starts putting the pieces together. "Don't tell me," a voice comes from the shadows. Yes, the plan that was prepared has begun. The subordinate looks terrified. Whatever this plan is, it's not good for anyone currently alive. The mysterious figure reveals that that person, likely the elder, entrusted this matter to Ho instead of Beacock. The subordinate is shocked. Giving the most important task to Ho is a major shift in the internal power dynamic. We finally see him. Bake's long white hair, cold eyes, looking like a high-tier villain. He says Ho won't miss this opportunity. The subordinate warns that Galarong could be a variable just as he was with Gono. Beacock's eyes narrow. He's not worried about variables. He's the one who controls the board. Cut to the road. A pair of carriages and a small escort of riders are making their way through the forest. They might look like a typical merchant caravan, but every last one of them is an elite. Inside, Leiddon is looking out, his expression focused. He's not playing the part of the useless heir right now. He's a martial god, calculating threat levels. They're traveling with a minimal crew, just unit leader, Im Young-ti, and 10 elite Mingho warriors. They're all dressed in ordinary martial arts attire to conceal their true identities. In the carriage, Gal Sarang and Leiddon are seated across from one another. Gal observes that Bongji hasn't asked a single question since their journey began. Leiddon reflects on how much trust Gal has placed in him. In turn, he assures Gal that the feeling is mutual. It's official, they're a team now. Gal gazes outside, his expression unreadable before he finally decides to open up. Since you're not asking, I'll just tell you. We're going to meet the person who made Maung Shi the alliance leader. At this, Leiddon's eyes sharpen. This is it, the mastermind behind it all. And that implies it could be the very person responsible for his death in his past life. Leiddon remarks that whoever this person is, they must be incredibly powerful to hand out the title of alliance leader as if it were a mere gift. Then Gal drops another bombshell. Ma Bongyi has never actually met the benefactor who made him the leader, not even a single time. This just goes to show the immense power this individual wields. They can control the entire martial world without ever having to make a personal appearance. Leiddon asks Gal if he's really okay with the situation. After all, Ma Bongyi didn't bring Gal along out of trust, he brought him to be a shield, and Gal is fully aware of it. He knows Bongyi was the one who orchestrated his downfall in the first place, but being summoned now can only mean that the leader is getting desperate. Leiddon warns him that this could be extremely dangerous. I know, Gal replies. As a strategist, he's already considered the risks. He's already calculated the mission's mortality rate. Leiddon looks at him, realizing Gal is prepared for any outcome. But Leiddon has his own agenda. Gal notices the look on Leiddon's face. Leiddon leans in and says, "Please trust me. Just as much as I trust you, I hope you'll trust me in return." Leiddon isn't just serving as an advisor. He's the insurance policy for this entire operation. Gal takes a deep breath and lets out a small sigh. All right, with that, their pact is sealed. We then cut to their destination. It's a sprawling, gorgeous mansion tucked away in the mountains. This is supposedly the Namyeon Escort Agency, but it looks more like a royal palace. The carriage pulls up to the entrance and Maungi steps out. He's adorned in rich red robes, but his face is visibly pale. He thinks to himself that this is his third visit to this place. Each time he comes, he's forcefully reminded of how insignificant he truly is. A maid greets him at the gate. "You've arrived. I will escort you." Bongyi follows her, but his internal monologue is already spiraling out of control. The very first time he came here, he thought there had been some mistake. He's completely unable to gauge the level of their martial arts. Even for him, the leader of the Alliance's most powerful combat unit, this young maid feels like an absolute master. He spots a servant sweeping the floor, and it's the same story. The power level in this mansion is completely off the charts. Another maid walks past, and he starts shaking. He realizes all of them, they're all stronger than me. Imagine being the strongest man in Muram, and then realizing the guy sweeping the porch could probably take you out in one hit. That's a complete L for Bongyi's ego. Just then the doors slide open. Bongyi steps into a massive, elegant room, sweating buckets. There we see a man sitting on a raised platform, calmly reading a book. This is Baeksak. He's playing a game of Baduk by himself. When he looks up, his eyes are chilling. They don't look human. They're like shards of ice. "You've arrived," he says, his tone so casual, it's as if he's greeting a delivery person, not the leader of the Muram Alliance. Bongyi bows deeply. Yes, in the presence of this wolf, he is nothing more than a puppy. Bongyi thinks that this man's sheer presence feels like encountering one of the legendary former Alliance leaders in their prime, not a subordinate. And yet this man isn't even the head of the organization, he's just an executive. Let that sink in for a moment. Baeksak asks if he enjoys playing Baduk. Bongyi admits he doesn't, but mentions that the elder loves it so much he once tried to learn. Baeksak smiles a cold, terrifying smile, and says that no matter how much he plays, he can't see the fun in it. He adds that he doesn't understand how life is supposed to be reflected in the game. Yeah, this guy's a literal sociopath. He explains that the elder loves Baduk so much, he even named his top subordinates Baeksak and Hosok, To their boss, they are literally just pieces on a board. Bongi just listens, trying his best not to faint. They sit in silence as Bikesock places another stone on the board. The sharp clack of the stone hitting the wood sounds like a gunshot in the quiet room. Then Bikesock drops the real bombshell. Soon a new alliance leader will be needed. Bongi freezes. He knows exactly what that implies. He's being replaced. And in their world, being replaced usually involves a shallow grave. Bikesock places another stone. Martial Gun seems suitable. Prepare him. We get a glimpse of this Martial Gun. He looks like an absolute powerhouse with thick black hair and cold eyes, a man clearly built for war. Bikesock looks at Bongi and confirms it with a chilling smile. Martial Gun is the next leader. Bongi is officially cooked. Bongi's face becomes a mask of pure terror as he realizes he was never a king, he was just a placeholder. And with that, we cut back to the traveling party. They're nearing a village as the sun sets when unit leader Im Yung Tai signals for the group to halt. Something feels off. Galserang asks why they've stopped, so suddenly pointing out they were supposed to press on to the next village. Leiddon steps forward. His expression is grim. He says it's the smell of blood, which he can sense even from this distance. The village they were about to pass through has been completely massacred. Galserang is stunned. What Leiddon explains that there's no trace of the culprits. Everyone, from the elders to the children, was killed, and it gets worse. They were slaughtered so brutally that not a single body was left intact. This wasn't just a raid, it was a harvest. Unit leader Im Yung Tai breaks out in a cold sweat. Even as a veteran warrior, he has never seen anything so demonic. But Maongji, he couldn't care less. He just tells them to move on to the next village. He says they can't waste time there, so terrified of his masters that he's willing to ignore a literal slaughterhouse. The unit leader is taken aback, but he obeys. Understood. They bypass the ravaged village and move on. The atmosphere is thick with tension. Everyone can feel that they're being followed by something monstrous as the sun sets, painting the sky a blood-red orange. They finally reach the next village, and it looks peaceful. Maongji decides they will all rest here for the night. He tells the group the village seems safe, though it sounds like he's trying to convince himself more than anyone else. The warriors begin to unpack the horses, but Leiddon stays on high alert, his eyes carefully scanning the shadows. Bongi lets out a sigh of relief, thinking he's safe for the night, but suddenly he senses a presence and spins around. An old man, a simple village elder, is standing there. "Welcome," he says with a kind smile. Bongi begins to relax. He gives a small bow in return, but then we get a close-up of the old man's eyes. They shift from a kind grandfather's to a deadly assassin's. In a split second, the old man moves with impossible speed and strikes. A massive shockwave of ki erupts from the blow. The impact is so powerful it tears up the ground. This old man is a monster in disguise, his face now twisted with murderous intent. He's going for the kill, but he's blocked. Leiddon has stepped in front of the alliance leader, catching the blow with a single hand. Leiddon looks at the assassin with the coldest expression we've seen from him yet. The supposed trash merchant just saved the leader of the Murim alliance, and something tells me he isn't going to be gentle with this old man. But our guy Leiddon is built different. He catches the punch with zero effort. The assassin's face is a mix of pure shock and confusion. Leiddon doesn't just block. He counters with a strike so fast it's just a blur to the naked eye. One hit. Leiddon puts all of his pure ki into a single fist. The impact sends the elder flying through the nearest building like a human cannonball. Maongji is just standing there with his mouth hanging open. As the alliance leader, he's currently the most useless person on the map. He's finally realizing this isn't a warm welcome. It's a full-blown ambush. All at once, dozens of shadows drop from the rooftops. The entire village was a trap from the jump. Galserang draws his sword, looking like a man who's pretty sure his life insurance is about to be claimed. The Myungho warriors are instantly engaged. Steel clashes against steel, but the vibe is definitely that they are seriously outnumbered. Unit leader. Im shouts for everyone to get on the horses. They need to bail and fast. The horses are starting to panic. Even the animals can sense the demonic energy in the air. The carriage is their only way out, but they're surrounded by a literal horde of masked killers. Leiddon grabs Galserang and tells him to get inside the carriage. He's now acting as the unofficial bodyguard. Two masked freaks jump in, looking like they haven't slept in 3 centuries. Leiddon steps in front of the alliance leader to intercept. His expression just screams, "I have a meeting at 5 and you're making me late." He kicks them both back with a double strike that shatters their ribs. They hit the ground hard, but something is wrong. They don't scream. They don't even flinch. Outside, the Myungho warriors are getting shredded. One more of them goes down, and it's not looking like an easy win for the alliance. The horses are being targeted too. The attackers are trying to trap the group so they can finish them off. Leiddon tells Galserang to stay close. He has realized these enemies are not normal humans. He stares at the fallen attackers. Even with shattered bones, they're getting back up. They look like zombies, but with the speed of S-rank martial artists. Their eyes are just white voids of demonic mana. Galserang is losing his mind, pointing out that their wounds should have been fatal. So how are they perfectly fine? Just then, the elder assassin walks back out of the wreckage he was thrown into. He's got a massive bloodstain on his chest from Leiddon's punch, but he's laughing. That creepy laugh is the universal sound for "I have a second health bar." One of the demonic assassins lunges at Leiddon, who dodges it like he's playing a rhythm game on easy mode. He grabs the attacker's arm and snaps it like a dry twig. The bone is literally sticking out of the skin. The soldier just smiles, showing no pain and no hesitation. The creature screams in Leiddon's face, and Leiddon realizes he's dealing with some kind of bioweapon. He shoves the soldier aside, but his expression shifts to one of genuine annoyance. He realizes these guys literally don't feel pain, a technique he hasn't encountered in 100 years. Leiddon begins to gather his pure chi, now knowing exactly what he's up against. He punches another one with enough force to cave in a normal man's chest, while Galserang watches the chaos, trying to process how Leiddon is doing all of this. One of the soldiers grabs Gal, and it looks like the Supreme Advisor is about to be toast. Leiddon isn't fast enough to reach him, but Gal manages to fend the soldier off for a split second. The creature's face is terrifyingly close, the very stuff of Muram nightmares. Gal recognizes them and shouts out their name, Berserk Blood Painless Soldier. Leiddon decapitates the one attacking Gal. It's the only way to guarantee they stay down for good. They both fall back to the carriage as more soldiers surround them. Internally, Leon confirms it. These are the elite troops of the Blood Heaven Demon cult. They're known as invincible demonic humans. They feel no pain, and the smell of blood only makes them more ferocious. It's flashback time. Leon remembers these soldiers from the Great War in his past life. He recalls how many of his comrades died simply because these things would not stop coming. Back then, he had to risk everything just to wipe them out. If he hadn't, the entire Muram clan would have been deleted from existence. He realizes the demon cult must have perfected the research from those secret labs he torched a few arcs ago. He glances around and sees dozens of them. It's a literal army of painless killers. Galserang is starting to give up thinking he's going to die without ever getting his revenge on Maongi. He even apologizes to Leiddon for getting him killed, a rare emotional moment from the seasoned strategist. Leiddon simply looks at him. "Do you remember what I told you, that if danger ever came, you should trust me?" Well, this is that moment. Leiddon sounds like a man ready to carry the entire team. Gal is completely stunned. He sees a look in Leiddon's eyes that no merchant's heir should ever have followed by a small, confident smirk. It's that classic, "I'm about to show you why I'm the main character" look. Gal nods slowly. "Fine, I'll trust you." Nearby, the elder assassin laughs once more. That's more like it. The assassin thinks, believing he's already won. Leon tells Gal not to make such a hopeless face when he's by his side. He's absolutely radiating protagonist energy. He draws his sword, a standard blade that looks like a legendary artifact, in his hands. The painless soldiers screech and lunge forward as one, but Leiddon firmly stands his ground. He's surrounded on all sides. Then he moves, becoming a blur of steel and purple light. In a single fluid motion, he cuts down 4 of them at once. They collapse to the floor in pieces. Galserang is losing his mind. He has never witnessed skill like this before. Leon moves like a ghost, making it all look completely effortless, but then he pauses, realizing something important. He can't just kill them, he has to hide how he's doing it. He pulls out 2 small daggers and thrusts them into the ground. They begin to glow with a strange blue light. Gal is confused. A fog. No. Leon says it's an enchantment. He tells Gal not to move from his spot. This is the high-level formation magic he looted earlier, or at least that's the half-truth he tells. He claims it's an enchantment that will hide Gal's body for only a few minutes, saying he isn't skilled enough to make it last any longer. It's classic Leiddon nerfing himself to avoid suspicion. A blue mist envelops Gal and the carriage, making them invisible to the demonic soldiers. This is the phantom vanishing art. Leiddon didn't expect to use this so soon, but it's the perfect cover for the real show he's about to put on. He turns to face the horde. He knows he can't use his signature soul-seeking Ashura sword because anyone watching would immediately identify him as the martial god. Instead, he'll use the white moon sword art, his clan's secret martial art, or rather the one he's completely making up on the spot. Leiddon stands alone against an army with an invisible Galxiang watching from the sidelines. The soldiers charge with a horrifying collective scream. It's a wave of death, and Leiddon is the unmovable rock it's about to crash against. He clashes with the first wave. His movements are elegant, almost like a dance, and his eyes are glowing with power. He's tracking every limb, every weapon, and every movement within a 360-degree radius. He slips past one blade, his own sword, just inches from the enemy's neck. Blood sprays as the first head comes off. He's just found the skip button for their so-called immortality. Another soldier tries to stab him from behind, but Leiddon doesn't even turn around, simply driving his sword backward through the man's throat. He's moving so quickly that it looks like there are 3 of him on the battlefield. The elder assassin realizes something is very wrong. This isn't just some talented kid, this is a monster. Lean spins his blade, a whirlwind of deadly steel. 3 heads hit the ground simultaneously. The slaughter is clinical and terrifying. The soldiers continue to scream, but now there's a new note in their cries. Leiddon realizes that even if they can't feel pain, they can still feel fear. Their primal instincts are screaming that they're in the presence of a predator. He moves without hesitation, and head after head begins to fall. He's clearing the lobby in record time, flickering across the battlefield like a literal phantom. He leaps into the air, gazing down at the survivors like a vengeful god before descending. The impact of his landing creates a crater filled with dust and broken bodies. He's a blur of purple energy now. The white moon style is supposed to be elegant, but in his hands it's creating a slaughterhouse. The remaining survivors are hesitating. For supposedly painless soldiers, they're certainly acting like they value their necks. Leiddon delivers a sweeping horizontal slash that simply deletes the front row. Even the Manhwa warriors who survived the initial ambush can only stare in disbelief. Their brains are slowly processing the fact that their intern is basically a god. Meanwhile, Gal is watching from the mist, his mind racing. He recognizes these attackers, their berserk, blood-painless soldiers. These are creatures that shouldn't feel fear, yet they're terrified. Leiddon is breathing hard, but it's not from fatigue, it's pure focus. He decapitates the last of the foot soldiers, leaving only him and the elder assassin. Leiddon moves, and it's not a charge, it's a teleport. The elder's face is a mask of pure horror. He attempts to block, but his speed is like a turtle's compared to Leiddon's, who is already standing behind him. The elder is frozen solid. As the purple light fades from Leiddon's sword, the elder's head slides cleanly off his shoulders. And that's that. The boss of the ambush is now officially past tense. Leiddon sheathes his sword with a satisfying click and lets out a long, deliberate breath. Time to go back to acting like it was hard work. The mist enchantment fades and Gal steps out of the carriage. He's staring at Leiddon as if seeing a complete stranger. "You're far more of a martial master than I ever imagined," Gal says, his voice full of awe. Clearly, he's not being fooled anymore. Leiddon just offers a slight, knowing smile. "Is that so?" Gal's gaze sweeps over the field of bodies. Gal begins to explain the lore again, recounting how these very soldiers once drove the Murim Alliance to the brink of annihilation. He's sweating just thinking about it. "And yet you brought them all down alone." He's visibly struggling to reconcile the image of a trash merchant heir with the slayer of demonic armies standing before him. So Leiddon lies through his teeth. He claims he's already mastered his clan's secret white moon sword technique. He adds that he's probably the first to master it at his age. It's an arrogant lie, but it's a believable one. Gal then asks where he learned such high-level enchantments. Leiddon claims he only learned enough for emergencies, studying it to improve his chances of survival in the jianghu. It's always the survival excuse with him. Gal falls silent. As a strategist, he knows when he's being fed a prepared script. He realizes Leiddon didn't join the Justice Pavilion just to become an advisor. The young man has much larger goals. Seeing this, Leiddon realizes he needs to share the truth, or at least a version of it, to keep their partnership intact. He admits that he's been a martial artist from the start, and that he joined the pavilion as part of his training. He finishes with a simple philosophy: a smarter sword survives longer. It's a fantastic line, and it actually seems to work on Gal, who just stares at him for a long moment. Gal realizes that Leiddon never actually denied being strong. He had just assumed Leiddon was weak because of his merchant background. He concludes that Leiddon is simply much stronger than he assumed. Talk about the understatement of the century. Gal closes his eyes and finally accepts it. "After all, you don't question the man who just saved your life by soloing a demonic horde." "You've saved my life again," Gal says. "I am truly grateful," Gal says, and he genuinely means it. This is some deep character investment right here. In response, Leiddon offers him a genuine smile. "It's nothing," Leiddon replies. "I only did what had to be done." Cut to later that night, where the moon is high and the woods are quiet. Suddenly, Bongi, the alliance leader, reappears with the escort warriors acting all relieved. "Oh, you really are safe." The sheer audacity of this man. He claims he was just about to turn back and rescue them, but had to retreat because the attack was just too sudden. Yeah, okay, buddy, you ran like a track star. Leiddon's internal monologue is basically, the hell you did. He's visibly holding back the urge to slap this man into the next province as Bongi listens to the report about the demonic humans. His face goes pale as he realizes the stakes have just been raised. So it really is the demon cult. This is terrible news for his precarious puppet position. Gal then informs him that the martial artists assigned to protect them all died. Gal is making sure Bongi understands the cost of his cowardice. Bongi forces a smile and says it's a good thing they managed to break through. The man is a walking cringe fest, changing the subject. Gal asks if there's been any word from the Alliance. Unit leader. And reports that there's been no reply to their urgent letter. Leiddon points out that, given how prepared the enemy was, the letter likely never even arrived. They're completely isolated. Bongi then asks the question on everyone's mind, what do we do now? Gal admits he isn't sure if the attack was connected to the shadow mastermind they're supposed to meet. The mere possibility of a connection has Bongi shaking. Gal explains that if it is connected, they're in serious trouble. But if it isn't, they should proceed at once to secure their help. Gal shrewdly leaves the decision to the Alliance leader, putting all the pressure squarely on Bongi, who is now sweating bullets. This is a man who has likely never made a real decision in his entire life. He immediately turns to Gal and asks what he thinks. That is some total side character behavior. Gal figures that if the meeting is a trap, they're already past the point of no return anyway. They might as well head to the agreed-upon location. Bongi thinks it over his face, a mask of pure fear. The trip forward is 1 day, while the trek back is 5. At this point, they're pretty much all in. Bongi's internal panic meter is hitting the red zone, but lucky for him, Gal has a secret plan up his sleeve. He knows this is a trap set specifically for Bongi, and he needs Bongi to walk right into it. He's using his leader as bait. Bongi finally caves, saying, I'll trust your judgment. And just like that, he's officially Gal's puppet. The scene cuts to a different location where a pair of elegant hands gently holds a teacup. We're introduced to a woman in black robes. She radiates an aura of calm power, looking like she's already aware of everything that's going down. This is likely number 7, but decked out in her real gear. She looks like an absolute menace. A masked operative is seen kneeling before her. He reports that Ma Bongi passed through the ambush site right on schedule. She calmly asks if they managed to kill Galxiang. The operative lowers his head. We failed. Her eyes narrow dangerously. Failed. This was supposed to be a sure thing. The operative then adds the detail that truly matters. Yes, and the berserk blood painless soldiers, they've all been wiped out. Her face instantly goes pale. She knows exactly how strong those soldiers are. For them to be annihilated like that means she's just realized there's a third player on the board. The hunt is on. The scene opens on a branch of the Martial Alliance, but it's clearly not a welcome home party. Bongi's face says it all. The man is sweating more than someone who just accidentally liked their ex's photo from 2014. Leiddon and Galxiang are right behind him, and the silence in the air is thick enough to choke a horse. The camera pans out, and yup, it's a total graveyard. Bodies are stacked up like the artist ran out of room to draw the floor tiles. One of the jianghu warriors points out the obvious. Even a branch of the Martial Alliance was deleted like it was nothing. Leiddon, however, notices the gruesome details. It wasn't just the warriors. They killed the cooks, the servants, absolutely everyone. This wasn't a battle. It was an extermination. Unit Leader Y. M confirms the grim news there isn't a single pulse left in the entire building. No survivors on the perimeter either. The entire area has been completely sanitized of life. The jianghu warrior suggests they bail immediately, and honestly, that's the first smart thing anyone has said all day. Bongi wholeheartedly agrees. He looks ready to set a new world record for the 100-meter dash, but of course the universe has other plans. Enemies, someone shouts, and the vibe shifts from scary to hopeless real fast. The jianghu unit draws their steel. They're professionals, but you can practically see the I don't get paid enough for this look in their eyes. Out of the mist, the nightmare arrives, red banners, black masks, and organized movements that scream elite squad. This isn't just an ambush. They're a full-blown military formation, and they've completely blocked off the street. Leiddon stares intently at their banner. He's seen this design before, and the memories are starting to itch. Galxiang recognizes it too. His face goes pale as he whispers, the demonic banner. The unit leader puts the pieces together. These are practitioners of the blood heaven divine cult, the ancient enemy that was supposed to have been wiped out ages ago. The warriors are visibly shaken. Fighting the demon cult is like fighting the boogeyman, except this boogeyman has a spear and a grudge against your entire family tree. Unit leader. Im does his best to keep morale up. He reminds them that the righteous sects crushed these guys years ago. He's basically giving himself a pep talk at this point. Leiddon, meanwhile, is having a full-blown PTSD flashback from his past life. The attire, the banners, it's a perfect replica of the army that nearly destroyed him a century ago. He wonders if the cult has truly been resurrected or if someone is just a really dedicated fan of demonic cosplay. Gal turns to Bongi, understanding the gravity of the situation. These aren't just random mobs, these are banner bearers. He tells the Alliance leader that unless he personally steps in, the Myungho unit is about to become a collection of past tense warriors. Bongi puts on his thinking face, which is impressive considering there's probably nothing but TV static going on behind those eyes. One of the warriors shouts that they can't let the Alliance leader risk himself playing the part of the sacrificial pawn perfectly. Gal gives him a look that practically screams, "Are you serious?" and points out that if the unit gets wiped out, Bongi will be standing there all alone anyway. Strategy 101, folks. The warrior shuts up because it's hard to argue with that logic. Bongi sighs. He knows he has to act. His puppet strings are being pulled tight right now. The Alliance leader will take the center. Gal commands setting up the board. He tells unit leader Im to deploy the profound formation on the right. This is a specific tactical setup designed to counter demonic banner units by focusing on lateral defense. Then he tells Leiddon, using his fake name, that the two of them will take the left flank. Unit leader. Im thinks two people on a flank is a questionable call, but Gal immediately shuts him down. He explains that their current numbers are the absolute bare minimum required to even attempt this formation. Im just grumbles and accepts it. You don't argue with the Supreme Advisor unless you want to find yourself holding the front line all by yourself. The demon cultists straighten their masks, making it clear they're not here to talk things out. Gal starts laying out the game plan. Do not be deceived by the banners. Do not try to cut them down. He then breaks down the trap for them. Those banner poles are infused with chi. If you try to chop them, your sword will just ricochet off, and that's when they'll run you through. He tells them to treat the poles like spears, strike them aside, and then look for an opening in their footwork. However, he adds a crucial warning: be careful when their chi gathers in a three-point formation. That's the signal for a coordinated assault that completely obliterates whatever is in front of it. Leiddon watches Gal with a faint smile. He has to give Gal credit. The strategy is spot on, which Leiddon knows from fighting these guys in the past. It's nice to see his student has done his research, but then Leiddon asks the million-dollar question, so how do we stop them? Gal gives him a deadpan look and says, you will stop them yourself. Leiddon's face is absolutely priceless. He may be the master, but right now he's basically the intern. With that, Gal explains the real plan. He'll be shouting commands to keep up the appearance that the profound formation is working, but in reality, Leiddon is just going to single-handedly crush the flank while Gal takes all the credit. Leiddon realizes he's stuck doing all the hard work, while the commander snags the win. Gal just hits him with the classic comeback, if you feel wronged, rise in rank. Savage. The two of them stand side by side, one genius strategist and one god-tier swordsman. Mabangi lets out a roar demanding to know where these guards came from. He's trying to sound intimidating, but he really just looks like a man who wishes he were in a different zip code. A massive banner slams into the ground, shattering the stone pavement as the impact shakes the whole street. Bongi flinches. The aura coming from the enemy leader is the real deal. The cult leader taunts him for the Martial Alliance's lord to not even recognize us. How utterly pathetic. The leader reveals himself complete with glowing white eyes, a purple demonic aura, and a level of bloodlust that makes the previous foot soldiers look like choir boys. Leiddon's eyes go wide. Demonic chi, he realizes the difference immediately. The previous cultists were just fakes created with drugs. This man, however, possesses genuine demonic arts that were transmitted directly to him. The cult isn't just back in business. They're actually training people again. Kill them all, the leader screams, and the floodgates open as the cultists charge. It's a literal tidal wave of red and black as steel meets pole. The sound of the clash is deafening while the Myungho unit tries to hold their ground. One cultist lunges with a banner pole, moving with terrifying speed, and a Myungho warrior barely manages to deflect it. He's already panting for breath. The cultists are using the banners to pin the warriors down, creating a veritable forest of spears. One masked fanatic makes the mistake of targeting Leiddon. Big mistake. Leiddon slips past the spear tip with ease. His movement is so smooth it looks like he's glitching through reality, followed by a single clean horizontal slash. The cultist's head is gone before his body even registers that the fight started. Leiddon then leaps into the air, spinning like a whirlwind. He creates his own vortex, parrying 3 poles at once. As he lands for just a split second, we can see the focus of a martial god in his eyes. He is clearly done playing around. He delivers a 360-degree strike that sends the front row flying back in pieces. The cultists pause. They were told they'd be fighting a strategist and some guards, not a walking blender with a sword. Leiddon flickers across the battlefield, and every time he moves, another banner falls. He's using his QE to vibrate the enemy's poles, shattering their grip from the inside out. The banners are literally being torn to shreds. Galxiang is in the back shouting nonsense commands just to keep up the pretense of a formation. Leiddon charges the next line, a blur of purple and white. He slips behind a cultist, his sword already mid-swing, and neatly removes another head from its shoulders. He's essentially speed-running this ambush. He spin kicks one cultist into another, clearing a path straight to the leader, but then he notices something. Galxiang is watching him a little too closely. He has to dial it back, or his whole White Moon Sword cover story is going to fall apart. Meanwhile, Ma Bongi is in the fight of his life, clashing with the demonic commander, and it's obvious Bongi is struggling. Steel meets pole, and the shock travels all the way up his arms. Leiddon watches them surprised that the cultist possesses strength, rivaling Ma Bongi's. He may call Bongi a depraved old lecher, but he admits the guy was still a sect master and is now an alliance lord. If he's struggling, this cultist must be S rank. Leiddon then senses a change in the air as the demonic chi begins to spike. The commander lunges at Leiddon, having realized who the real threat is. Leiddon's eyes begin to glow. Finally, someone worth my time. He meets the pole head-on, and the impact shakes the entire courtyard. Leiddon slides underneath the pole and delivers a clean strike to the cultist's legs. He stands up, exhaling slowly. He's handled the minions, but the main boss is still standing. The dust is still settling, but the screams haven't stopped. The Mingho unit is still holding the line, but they are clearly losing ground. The profound formation is great on paper, but it doesn't do much good if your soldiers are exhausted. Ma Bongi is still locked in a fierce battle with the commander. With every hit, his expensive robes look more and more like rags. Bongi grits his teeth. It's dawning on him that his master in the shadows likely sent these guys to kill him, seeing as he's outlived his usefulness. The commander mocks him, sneering, "Ma Bongi, struggle all you want. Today, this place becomes your grave." Bongi's face is a canvas of pure panic. He's a man who has built his life on lies, and the truth just smacked him down like a demonic weapon. Unit leader. Im screams for support as cultists close in on their rear. He realizes the High-on formation is crumbling. There are simply too many of them. But then Leon flickers through the crowd, not even bothering to draw his sword for this. He just strikes with an open palm, sending 2 cultists crashing into a wall. The man is a whirlwind of pure violence. Before anyone can even process his movements, he's already cleared the rear flank. The enemy commander finally takes notice. His eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes the intern is the one single-handedly turning the tide. Where did all those bastards suddenly come from? He shouts, baffled by Leiddon's incredible speed. The cultists attempt to regroup and reinforce the rear, but Leiddon is already there waiting for them. He effortlessly dodges 3 spears at once, his body bending as if he were made of rubber. A single clean slash, and 2 more cultists become floor decorations. Leon slams his palm into the ground, unleashing a powerful burst of chi that sends the surrounding enemies flying off their feet. 3 more try to jump him from above. It's amateur hour. Leon meets them in the air. The sharp clank of steel is followed by 3 bodies thudding onto the pavement. He lands, his eyes cold and focused, already tracking the commander. The remaining cultists can only scream as they're completely deleted by Leiddon's purple energy. And that's when the commander finally realizes the truth. The real problem isn't Ma Bongi, it's that guy. Finally, someone with a brain. Seeing his chance, Maongi seizes the opening. He charges his ki, his face a mask of desperation. He lunges at the distracted commander, a single fatal strike through the heart. The commander's eyes dim, the last thing he registers being the irony of getting killed by the very coward he was just mocking. "Damn it!" The commander whispers, his body slumping to the ground. Bongi is panting like he just ran a marathon in lead boots. He stares down at the fallen body, his own face caked in blood and sweat. He stands over the corpse desperately, trying to pose like a conquering hero. It might be the most pathetic W in the history of the Merm. He takes a deep breath, trying to regain his composure as he announces, "The enemy leader has fallen." The warriors erupt in a shout. The remaining cultists freeze in shock. Taking the cue, the Mingho unit lets out a triumphant cheer and charges forward to finish the job. The cultists are now in full retreat. Without their leader, they've become nothing more than masked targets. Leiddon casually decapitates one last cultist trying to sneak away. He stands over the body, sheathes his sword, and looks utterly bored by the whole affair. The Mingho warriors can only stare at him in awe. They all saw what he did on that flank. Amidst the chaos, one of the cultists manages to flee into the woods. Unit leader, his face contorted with rage, is about to give chase. Do not pursue them. Galserang commands, apparently the only one still thinking straight. He explains that, with their leader dead, chasing the stragglers is a waste of energy and a perfect way to get ambushed again. Bongi nods along, trying to act like that was his plan all along. Gal turns to Bongi and bows deeply. As expected of you, Alliance leader, your skills haven't rusted one bit. Bongi manages a small, smug smile. Unbelievable, he's actually going to take credit for this. These kinds of fools are nothing, he says with incredible audacity. This is the same man who was shaking in his boots just 5 minutes ago. Leon simply closes his eyes and bows perfectly fine, with Bongi taking the glory as long as it keeps the attention off of him. Unit leader. Warns that the enemy might regroup, urging them to move out quickly. They abandon the branch office, leaving the pile of bodies for the crows. We cut to a different location where a pair of eyes watches from the darkness. It's number 7. She stands in a grand hall where the air is cold enough to freeze blood. The few surviving cultists are kneeling before her, literally shaking in fear. Silence hangs heavy in the air. No one dares to speak. Say that again, she says softly. You failed. Yes, ma'am. One cultist stammers out, avoiding her gaze. She says she could tolerate the loss of the painless soldiers. But for a demonic commander to be killed and his unit decimated, that is an unacceptable loss. She asks about the enemy's losses. The cultists don't or can't answer. They're all staring at the floor as if it's the most fascinating thing in the world. Their losses were minimal, one of them finally whispers. What? Her eyes flare with fury. She was certain that at the very least the Miyano unit would have been wiped out. The cultist quickly tries to explain. He stammers that Bongi was unexpectedly formidable and that their unit was too strong thanks to the Han formation. She realizes Galserang must have been the brains behind the strategy, but even so, it shouldn't have been enough to turn the tables. She asks if Bongi had some kind of hidden trump card. Yes. The confirmation makes her expression turn grim. This means her plans are officially derailed. It would have been better if you were all simply wiped out, she says, her voice dangerously low. The cultist looks up in confusion, but it's already too late. There's a single blinding flash of steel. A gash opens across the cultist's throat before he can utter another word. She then unleashes a devastating burst of ki that tears through all the remaining survivors. It's a grim scene in the shadows, where a woman stands over a pile of her own men, casually cleaning her ring-like weapon. She's not a villain, just a very thorough professional cleaner. Useless trash, she mutters, looking off toward the mountains. She figures that by now Mabongi must have met him. The scene shifts to the Namyan escort agency, glowing beautifully in the moonlight as the group arrives. Mabongi is warmly welcomed by the staff, and a young man steps forward looking like a porcelain doll with his long black hair and delicate features. My name is Chansun, he says gently. Bongi is completely speechless. No way, he stammers. He's in shock that his master is so young. Chansun offers a small, elegant smile and replies, That's right, it's me. He confirms his identity as the true power behind the shadows while Leon stands in the back simply staring at the kid. He tries to get a read on the kid's power level, but he's drawing a blank. His eyes narrow. I can't clearly gauge his exact strength, which means he is at least my equal or possibly even stronger. A child who could rival a martial god. Chansun then turns his attention to Galserang, praising his well-known reputation. He says that meeting such a famed individual is an honor, all while looking at Gal with eyes that seem to see right through him. He praises the Mayangho unit leader for his hard work, and then his gaze shifts to Leon. You must be strategist Bayak, he says. He even mentions the remarkable promotion Leon just received, adding that he's heard all about Leon's outstanding talent, especially for his age. Leon is internally spiraling. This kid somehow knows everything about everyone in the room. He realizes that while this kid is undeniably strong, he might not be the true mastermind. He starts doing the math in his head. Unless this kid started planning all this as a toddler, his age just doesn't line up with the organization's history. Chansun takes a seat on his throne and looks at Bongi. So you wanted to see me, Alliance leader. And just like that, Bongi is sweating buckets again. The meeting he fought so hard to get has barely started, and he already looks like he's on the verge of defeat. The entire game has just changed. Bongi is currently experiencing what we call a major reality check. He's looking at Chonsoon, and the gravity of the situation is starting to sink in. He has spent his entire career being a big shot only to find out he's been a puppet for someone who hasn't even hit his growth spurt yet. Chonsoon just sits there completely unbothered and asks if they're satisfied now that they've finally met the man behind the curtain. Leon is watching Bongi's ego crumble in real time. He knows that in the Miram world, age is just a number. If someone looks 10 years old and talks like a god, you should probably be running in the opposite direction. Chonsoon plays it cool, suggesting they must be tired from their trip and should get some rest so they can talk business in the morning. He's got that polite customer service smile that usually comes right before someone gets their life subscription permanently canceled. But Bongi is way too far gone to calm down. He's completely worked up. He's sweating, he's agitated, and he's decided that now is the perfect time for a main character moment, despite being a side character at best. Gal Sarang and Leiddon are just standing there thinking, please, for the love of all that is holy, just sit down. Gal is actually getting worried. He knows Bongi is being an idiot, but if the alliance leader snaps right here, nobody in this room is getting their security deposit back. Chonsoon politely offers tea, but Bongi is done playing games. He looks the kid dead in the eye and tells him straight up, I don't believe you're the real leader. Big mistake. Chonsoon's eyes do that thing where they glow with the intensity of 1,000 red flags. He calmly drops a line about how people only tend to believe what they want to believe. It's the kind of cryptic villain speech that means the tutorial is over and the boss fight is about to begin. Bongi demands to know his motive. Why did you make me the leader of the Muram Alliance? What was your plan? Chonsoon just chuckles. Oh, he had a plan all right. And Bongi is about to find out that being a good leader was never on the job description. The room goes dead quiet. Leon is already calculating the fastest route to the nearest exit. Chonsoon leans in, a tiny smirk playing on his face. I made you the leader for this very moment. Bongi's brain is still trying to buffer that information, but Chonsoon isn't waiting for the download to complete. Leon's internal alarm is screaming at full volume. He realizes this kid isn't just dangerous. He's a complete psychopath. Everything seems to move in slow motion as black ink or whatever this demonic chi is suddenly erupts from him. The guards don't even have time to blink. Chonsoon simply reaches out a finger as if pointing out a typo, and Bongi gets hit with a literal delete command. The black mana bores a hole right through his forehead. It's not even a fight, it's a swift execution. The impact is violent, sending a spray of blood and shadows everywhere. Bongi's face is frozen in an expression of pure regret, as if thinking, I really should have just taken that nap. He hits the floor hard. The leader of the ferocious Tiger Corps, Im Jung-tae, rushes over screaming for the alliance leader. But it's too late. The man who was meant to rule the martial world is now just a gruesome decoration on the tiles. Jung-tae is in total shock. His entire job description just vanished in about 4 seconds. The message has been sent, the alliance leader is dead. Gal Sarang looks as if he's aged 20 years in 20 seconds. This is a complete political disaster. Leiddon, however, is staying cool as a cucumber. He's got his hand on his sword, but he isn't moving yet. He's sizing up Seo Hyun, trying to see if the kid has any more tricks up his sleeve. Seo Hyun just stands there looking as peaceful as a monk after morning meditation. The guards completely lose it. Jung leaps in sword drawn, ready to take the kid's head off for the honor of the alliance. Seo Hyun doesn't even budge. He simply closes his eyes. Then his eyes snap open, glowing with a light that says, "You're really testing my patience." He releases a burst of Qui that feels like a physical wall slamming into the guards. Jung-tae gets swatted away like a fly. He crashes into the ground, completely overwhelmed by the sheer power gap. His men are screaming for their leader. The morale in the room has officially hit rock bottom. Leiddon is watching closely, noticing something very specific about how Seo Hyun moves. The kid didn't use a killing strike on Jung-tae. He held back, which means he only wanted Bongi dead. The rest of them, they're still part of the plan. Jung is clutching his chest, coughing up blood. He's realizing he isn't even a warm-up for this kid. Seo Hyun addresses the room with the most business-like tone possible. He tells them Bongi is gone, so now they need to focus on protecting the next leader. Jung asks the obvious question, "Isn't that your job?" "You just killed him." He tries to order his men to subdue Seo Hyun, but his voice is trembling. The guards draw their blades, but they look like they would rather be literally anywhere else. "Stop." It's Galarang. He stepped forward, taking control of the situation before it turns into a total massacre. He points at the body. The leader has already passed away. There is no point in throwing your lives away now. He looks at Jung-tae with a face that just screams, "Use your brain, man." Gal explains the math. The gap in strength is too wide. If the Tiger Corps fights here, they don't just lose, they get erased. The guards know it. You can see the realization dawning in their eyes. They're escort experts, and they just failed the biggest escort mission of their lives. They're ready to die to save face, but Gal is giving them an out. He gives them a new mission. From now on, protect the Supreme Advisor. He makes it an official request from the Justice Pavilion. He's pivoting the entire political structure on the fly just to keep everyone alive. Jung grits his teeth. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it beats being dead. The Tiger Corps shifts, forming a protective circle around Galarang. The protection detail has a new VIP. Seo Hyun actually laughs at this. He calls it a good choice, clearly enjoying the show. Then he gets serious. He gives them a message to take back to the Orthodox factions. Tell them our cult's revenge is just getting started. And there it is. The demon cult name drop. The boogeyman of the Murim is back, and he just used the alliance leader as a product demo. The guards are shaken. This isn't just a murder anymore, it's a declaration of war. Leiddon and Gal share a look. They're both thinking the same thing. The script just got a major rewrite. Leiddon is seriously annoyed. He wanted a quiet internship, not a front row seat to the apocalypse. The group starts to leave, carrying the heavy atmosphere of a total loss. Seo Hyun watches them go, his eyes lingering on Leiddon for a split second too long. Leiddon's internal monologue is basically just a long string of curse words. This went south way faster than he predicted. Bongi is dead, and he's being framed as a sacrifice to the cult. It's a perfectly messy cover-up. Gal is staring at Seo Hyun, trying to figure out the bigger picture. What is this kid really after? Later that night, Seo Hyun is on a balcony looking out at the moon. Number 7. The female cleaner we saw earlier kneels behind him. She's apologizing because Bongi was apparently stronger than expected, which forced Seo Hyun to step in. But Seo Hyun shuts that down immediately. No, Bongi wasn't skilled enough to break your trap. He notes that Bongi survived a previous ambush without a single injury. Number 7 realizes where he's going with this. That means there's definitely someone in the shadows who helped them. Seo Hyun is sharp. He's already figured out there's a smurf in the party. Number 7 is sweating now. If there's a master they didn't account for, their intel is garbage. Seo Hyun thinks it might be Galarang's secret bodyguard. He's looking at the group, but he's looking at the wrong map. He recalls Leiddon's face, remembering that aside from Bongi, this kid had the most prowess on the surface. But then he dismisses it. He thinks Leiddon is too young to be the one who killed Elder Go and broke the Black Rock Trap. He thinks he's too good to be fooled by a brat. He gives number 7 an order. Find out who's actually helping them. She accepts, but you can tell she's not looking forward to this task. The woods at night. The moon is full, which is a classic something bad is about to happen trope. A figure is moving through the trees with insane speed. It's Elder Peon, the eye patch assassin. He looks like he's lived through a dozen wars and won most of them. He's following the group, looking for the martial master assisting them. All of a sudden, a wave of chi slices through the air, forcing him to dodge in mid-leap. Peon lands his one good eye scanning the darkness. He's not scared, he's intrigued. The air is thick with killing intent. Peon stands in the clearing waiting. "Come on out," he says. He's got that classic old master's confidence. A shadow detaches itself from the trees and Peon's face goes completely still. He was expecting an old master, maybe some legendary hermit. Instead, he's looking right at Leiddon. Our guy has decided that hiding is no longer an option if they want to make it through the night. The standoff begins. 2 generations of martial arts, one very dark forest. Leiddon looks bored, which, as we all know, is his most dangerous state of being. Elder Peon doesn't waste any time. "Who in the world are you?" Leiddon hits him back with the old "know you." "I should be asking you that since you're the one stalking us like a creep." Leiddon points out that Peon was the one chasing them. It's just basic logic, really. Peon calls him an arrogant brat. It's the standard NPC dialogue right before they get their world rocked. Peon makes his move. The air literally screams as he launches himself forward. He throws a punch that looks like it could blast right through a brick wall. Leiddon blocks it casually, and the shockwave clears all the leaves around them. Peon follows up with a sweep, but Leiddon is already airborne. The old man is fast, but Leiddon is 120 years of experience fast. They clash in midair. It's a blur of strikes and parries. The impact shakes the entire forest floor. Leiddon lands a solid counter-strike, forcing Peon to rethink his life choices. The elder is genuinely surprised. This kid isn't just good for his age. He's an absolute monster. They trade about 20 blows in 3 seconds. Leiddon is using the White Moon sword art as a facade, but he's amping it up with his real Kai. A massive burst of light forces them apart. Leiddon lands on a tiny tree branch, and Peon lands opposite him. The branch Leiddon is standing on isn't even bending. Leiddon thinks to himself, this guy is actually an expert. Soon has guys like this on the payroll. The budget for this cult must be insane. All the while, Pion is staring at Leiddon's feet. He realizes the lightness skill required to stand on that branch without it moving is high-tier master level. He admits that a skill level like that at his age is unheard of. Then the penny drops. It was you, the one who killed Elder Go. Leiddon plays it off. I don't know who you're talking about. I meet a lot of old guys. He sighs. Too many people claim they'll take my life. Was he as skilled as you? Pion says Go was an expert, but slightly below his own level. Leiddon just smirks. Then, yeah, I definitely killed him. Leiddon decides to ask a question of his own. Why is an expert like you tied down to an organization like this? You could be a king anywhere else. Pion corrects him. He's not tied down. He pledged his loyalty voluntarily. Leiddon's eyes go sharp. A voluntary expert is 10 times more dangerous than a mercenary. It means they actually believe in the cause. He wonders what kind of person Soon is to command that kind of loyalty. Pion is done talking. He draws a weapon that looks like a segmented whip or a chain blade. Leiddon draws his sword. The time for playing around is officially over for the next 5 minutes. Pion lashes out the chain, cutting through trees like they're made of paper. Leiddon parries, but the chain wraps around his blade. Pion pulls, trying to disarm him, but Leiddon's grip is like iron. Leiddon kicks off the tree, using the tension to launch himself right at Pion's head. The elder retracts the chain and forms a shield of ki. Metal meets ki, and the sound is like a bell ringing through the night. Pion goes on the offensive, his chain moving like a living snake. Leiddon is dodging by mere millimeters, testing the chain's reach. He realizes Pion is trying to trap him in a circle of steel. Leiddon strikes the ground, creating a smokescreen of dirt and leaves. He vanishes. Pion knows he's dealing with an expert, so he doesn't let his guard down for a single second. He feels a chill behind him. A massive wave of ki erupts from the brush as Leiddon comes down from above, his sword glowing with purple energy. Pion grunts and throws everything he has into a block. The impact creates a crater in the earth. Leiddon lands softly, but Pion is starting to look a little ragged. The elder steps back, breathing a bit harder now. He realizes Elder Go didn't let his guard down. He just got outclassed by a superior predator. Leiddon takes a deep breath. He's done testing things out. Pion sees the change in Leiddon's posture. The brat is gone. The martial god is checking in. Leiddon's QE starts to manifest as multiple spectral blades in the air. This is it. No more white moon nonsense. The air around Leiddon starts to swirl with a violent ghostly aura. Pion stands his ground, but even he looks a little concerned now. Leiddon closes his eyes for a second. When they open, they're glowing with a cold blue-white light. Ghostly sure sword style. Pion's eye goes wide. He's never heard of it, but he can feel the immense killing intent. Burst form. Leiddon strikes. A beam of pure energy tears through the forest. It's like a laser beam made of pure spite. Pion barely dodges, but the blast takes out about 50 trees behind him. He realizes he's not fighting a person anymore. He's up against a force of nature as Leon is already on him again. The Shuriel style is relentless, designed to overwhelm and dismantle. Leon's sword moves in physically impossible patterns as he unleashes the fifth form, and a massive dome of ki erupts. Pawn tries to form a barrier with his chain, but it's like trying to stop a tsunami with a jump rope. The blast hits him full force, sending his eye patch flying as his face is illuminated by the sheer destruction. He's swallowed by the purple light, letting out one final scream as the fifth form completes its devastating work and the forest falls silent. When the light fades, the aftermath is a total wreck. The entire clearing has been reshaped by the blast. Leiddon stands there, slightly out of breath, but otherwise fine, reflecting on the fight. He thinks to himself, that old man didn't know who I was until the very end. He realizes that if even Qian Soyan couldn't gauge his true strength, it leads to a terrifying conclusion. So Soyan is my equal. He can't get a read on me because we're on the same tier. And if Soyan is just the manager, then the one behind him is likely stronger than even Leiddon was in his past life. He grips his sword, his hand shaking slightly, not from fear, but from realizing the stakes. I must become stronger. The martial god just realized he's in a much bigger pond than he thought. We cut to the Miram Alliance headquarters inside the leader's chamber. The room is empty, but the weight of the news about the leader's death feels like it's about to bring the walls down. Maungan the Sun is standing there alone. He's being briefed by the strategist who appears to be another puppet in this game. The man isn't even trying to hide his true colors anymore. He flat out admits that putting Bongi in power was a mistake that should never have happened. He calls Bongi unfit for leadership. It's incredibly cold. He's talking about the young man's dead father as if he were just a bad employee. Rang Yin is furious. Then why did you push for him to become leader in the first place? The strategist just smiles. Well, there's no rule saying only perfect people can become leader. Rang Yin realizes he's being played. The words don't make sense because the game was rigged from the start. The strategist sighs, looking bored with the conversation. He claims that killing Bongi wasn't his intention, but when you're part of a shadow organization, intentions hardly matter. He tells Rang Yin that since he remained in the alliance, he's just as guilty as his father. Rang Yin's face goes pale. He's trapped. Are you going to kill me too? He asks. The strategist smirks. If I wanted to, you would have died right alongside your father's strategist. He then asks Rang Yin who he intends to support as the next leader. The power vacuum is officially open. In a different part of the palace, a guard is sprinting, bursting into a room shouting, "What do you mean my father passed away?" The second son has just found out. A civil war within the alliance is officially on the menu, and Leiddon is still stuck out in the woods. Things are getting messy, and the Star Trading Company is about to enter its most profitable and dangerous quarter yet. Back at the Justice Pavilion, the air is heavy with the scent of political collapse. Leiddon mentions Maun, the dead leader's son. He's already thinking 3 steps ahead while everyone else is still mourning a man they didn't even like. Gaoxiang admits he hadn't even considered the kid yet. He's been too busy trying to keep the alliance from self-destructing. Meanwhile, Leiddon's internal monologue is right on the money. He knows the Shadows got rid of Gaoxiang once, and now that he's back as Supreme Advisor, he basically has a giant target painted on his very expensive robe. This situation isn't going to end with Gaoxiang just losing his job. In this world, early retirement usually involves a shallow grave and a demonic ritual. Leiddon decides it's time to stop being subtle and tells Gaoxiang he has one request. He wants Gaoxiang to come with him somewhere right now with no questions asked. Gaoxiang is understandably hesitant. They're in the middle of a national crisis, and Leiddon wants to go on a field trip. Our guy simply says, "You'll understand when you see it." It's the ultimate trust me bro moment, and it works. Gaoxiang stands up. He's realized by now that when Leiddon makes a request, it's usually for something either completely insane or absolutely essential. Leiddon is actually a bit surprised that he agreed so easily. Usually convincing a strategic genius to follow you into the unknown involves more than 10 words. "What are you doing?" Leiddon asks as Gaoxiang just starts walking, and just like that, they're on a boat. Welcome to East Lake. It's scenic, quiet, and the perfect place for either a heart-to-heart or a high-level assassination. The boat creaks as they glide across the water. The silence between them is the kind you only get between two guys who know far too much. Leiddon breaks the ice, asking why Gaoxiang hasn't questioned where they're going yet. Gaoxiang's response is cool and collected. He says the why matters much more than the where. That's peak strategist energy right there. He also adds that it's just nice to be out on the lake. Even a genius needs a mental health day after watching their boss get taken out by a superpowered kid. Leiddon closes his eyes, soaking in the peaceful vibe. He's about to change Gaoxiang's life, but he's taking a moment to enjoy the breeze first. The boat glides slowly across the water, sending out ripples that seem to mirror the tension in the air. They arrive at a simple wooden dock. It looks unassuming, but in the world of Manhwa, unassuming is often code for secretly a billionaire. Gao steps onto the shore, an entire island. He spots a grand estate nestled among the trees, and he can't help but be impressed. Building a mansion on a private island isn't exactly entry-level work. "It's my estate," Leon says casually. Gao's expression is a perfect mix of, "I knew you were hiding something," but not an entire zip code. He chuckles, admitting that Leon is full of surprises. Just when he thinks he's finally figured out how deep Leon's pockets go, he discovers another hidden compartment. They make their way to the main building and settle into a pavilion with a beautiful view of the lake. This is where the serious conversations happen. Leon pours the drinks. In the Murim, pouring a drink for someone is the universal sign for, "We're about to discuss something highly questionable." So, Sebi seemed walk again, or Leon wastes no time getting to the point. He explains that he brought Gal here to discuss something in private. Gal takes a calm sip. He's ready. He's only been waiting for this big reveal for about 20 chapters. Leon actually looks nervous. It's rare to see him drop his usual cool guy persona, and Gal can tell this must be important. Gal points out that Leon wasn't even this on edge when they were completely surrounded by that demon cult. He jokes, asking, "Are you about to tell me you're quitting the Justice Pavilion?" Leon just blinks. "What? No, that's not it at all." He explains he's here to tell Gal the real reason he joined the Alliance in the first place. Gal leans in, intrigued. "The reason you joined, He remembers Leiddon claiming it was for experience, a story he never bought for a second, and then Leiddon drops the bomb. The truth is, it was because of you, Supreme Advisor. The silence that follows is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Bandis, there you go. Because of me, Gal is going to need a very detailed explanation for that one, as his mind is already racing through 1,000 different scenarios. Leiddon looks him dead in the eye. I wanted to make you one of my people. Gal's brain officially short-circuits. Error 404. Logic not found. Leiddon doesn't even blink. He's completely serious. He didn't join the Alliance to save the world he joined, to poach the world's greatest strategist. And then Gal just bursts out laughing. It's a deep, genuine laugh, because the situation is just too absurd to be real. He apologizes, explaining he was just caught off guard. After a lifetime of being used by power-hungry old men, now some young upstart is trying to headhunt him. He sets down his cup, and the mood instantly shifts from casual to serious. So what you're saying is you want me to serve under you? He fixes Leiddon with a stare that could peel paint. He's no longer looking at a student, he's evaluating a potential leader. Leiddon doubles down. Yes, that's precisely why he joined the Justice Pavilion, to earn Gal's trust and ultimately recruit him. Gal brings him back to reality. You do realize I'm the Supreme Advisor of the Murim Alliance, right? He's essentially asking if Leiddon grasps the sheer scale of his request. He's asking Gal to commit high treason against the world's reigning superpower. Gal pours himself another drink, his mind clearly at work. He starts listing Leiddon's qualifications. Martial prowess that surpasses even the Alliance leader, enough wealth to own a private island, and a mind that remains sharp under pressure. He has to admit it. You certainly have the qualifications. Leiddon has officially passed the vibe check, and Gal's eyes narrow with focus. The strategist in him is now fully engaged. If I were to join you, what exactly are you planning to do? Leiddon's answer is both simple and terrifying. Fight the Murim Alliance and the shadowy figures pulling the strings. Wipe out every single person responsible for this mess. Gal takes a long, slow sip. He's currently weighing his cushy, comfortable job against a suicide mission alongside a kid who might secretly be a god. Leiddon brings up the murder of the previous Alliance leader. He knows their enemies are running rampant through the jianghu as if they own the place. I think we have to stop them. For Leiddon, this isn't just a strategic plan, it's a moral imperative. Gal remains silent for a long moment. As he looks at Leiddon, he sees a reflection of an ideal he thought he'd lost long ago. Leiddon simply waits, having laid all his cards on the table. Gal finally asks the crucial question, but why me? Why go through all this trouble for a disgraced strategist? Leiddon smiles. Someone recommended you to me. Someone you know very well, in fact. Right on cue, a powerful voice echoes from the shadows. It's been a while, Supreme Advisor. Gal spins around, his eyes wide with disbelief. He can't believe his eyes. He looks like he's just seen a ghost. Bayakpo, the absolute unit himself, steps out from the shadows with a grin. The tiger mustache is back in town. Gal is genuinely floored. Seeing Bayakpo here apparently serving Leiddon is the ultimate seal of approval. He asks if Bayakpo was the one who recommended him. Bayakpo just nods, looking as proud as a peacock. I serve the young master, Bayakpo says, which is basically his way of telling Gal, this kid is the real deal. Gal's gaze shifts back to Leiddon. The pieces of the puzzle are finally clicking into place for Gal. All the while, Leiddon just watches the reunion unfold. He's constructed the perfect trap to secure Gal's loyalty, and the bait was none other than an old trusted friend. Later that evening, the setting sun paints the sky in fiery colors of change. Leiddon is standing alone in the courtyard, having given Gal and Bayakpo some space to talk. He can only wonder what they're discussing. He knows this is the make-or-break moment for his entire plan. He's done everything in his power. Now it all comes down to whether Gal is brave enough to choose freedom over safety. Leiddon stares into the distance, knowing that if Gal says no, he'll have to fight this entire war alone. He desperately wants Gal to join, but he won't force his hand. After all, a strategist who isn't a willing participant is nothing more than a liability. He hears footsteps. Gal and Bakpio are approaching, their expressions grim. They stop just a few feet away. It's a standoff that practically screams epic contract negotiation. Gal poses one final question. If all of this ends peacefully, what do you plan to do afterward? Leiddon's answer is beautifully simple. I plan to give everyone their freedom. Freedom, Gal echoes as if tasting the word. In a world built on masters and servants, that's a truly radical idea. Leiddon explains that he's not looking for blind loyalty. He wants people to follow him because they choose to, not because they're forced to. I want both myself and my subordinates to be happy. It's the most unwarlord-like thing anyone could possibly say. Gal just stares at him, completely floored. He's never heard a leader speak of happiness instead of conquest. He glances over at Bakpyo and sees that his old friend is already on board. Leiddon continues explaining that he's fought this kind of battle before. He's already seen the devastating results of greed and clandestine wars. I don't care who rules the jianghu as long as the people are truly happy. He says, but that's never the case. He then brings up the massacre at Hasu Manor as proof. People are already dying because of the greed of others. Gao looks down, the weight of that truth hitting him hard. He spent his entire career trying to manage that very greed, and he is sick of it. Leiddon then drops a major hint about his true identity. He tells Gao to forget the man he used to be and to follow the man he is today. He even admits that he's a man with plenty of flaws and weaknesses, effectively humanizing himself to the world's smartest man. Would someone like me really be enough? For the first time, Gao is actually doubting himself. He's been broken by his past failures. Leiddon offers him a soft, genuine smile. He tells Gao that everyone is aware of their own imperfections, but that's precisely what makes them valuable. Will you be able to carry me as you take flight? Leiddon is offering to be the strength, if Gao will provide the wings. The gesture clearly moves Gao. The Supreme Advisor is on the verge of making the biggest gamble of his life. He makes his choice. He drops to one knee. This is the moment. The power dynamic has just shifted completely. I, Gao Xiang, Supreme Advisor of the Maram Alliance, swear before heaven and earth that I will offer my loyalty to young Master Byoidan, my final lord in this life. And you can tell he means every word. No more puppets, no more alliance, only Leiddon. As Leiddon looks at him, he sees the ghosts of the martial god's old allies. The old band is finally getting back together. Thank you, Sarung, truly thank you. The contract is sealed in both blood and spirit. The Star Trading Company has just acquired its most dangerous mind. By now, night has completely fallen over the island. The atmosphere shifts instantly from recruitment to a full-blown war council. They're back in the pavilion, ready to strategize. Now that Gal is officially on the team, Leiddon starts showing him the real ledgers. He casually mentions that his intelligence organization has 120 branches. 120. Gal looks like he wants to ask when Leiddon even finds the time to sleep. He's absolutely stunned. Leiddon recruited him without revealing any of this. And now he's finally grasping the sheer scale of the Shadow Empire Leiddon has built, all while supposedly just being an intern. He realizes Leiddon approached him with complete sincerity. You don't just show someone your 120-branch spy network unless you're planning on either marrying them or starting a revolution. Bakpyo then chimes in, mentioning that he gave the Asura Hell King sword to Leiddon. Gao slowly repeats the legendary name. He knows the legend surrounding that blade. Bakpyo tells him that on the very day Leiddon first laid eyes on the sword, it began to weep on its own. It had recognized its true master. Gao's eyes go wide. A crying sword is an unmistakable sign of a legendary destiny. He realizes that the sword of his former lord has now acknowledged Leiddon. To Gao, this is a clear sign of fate. To the audience, of course, it's just Leiddon reclaiming his old property. Gao remarks that the previous martial god must be overjoyed as well. If only he knew he was talking to the man himself. Bakpyo just smiles. I'm sure he is. He's the only one who's in on the joke right now, and Leiddon manages to keep a perfectly straight face. He's getting quite used to people fanboying over his past self right to his face. Thank you both for saying so, he says, raising his cup. And with that, the Brotherhood is officially formed. The three of them raise their cups in a toast. This is the ultimate power trio of the decade. They share a drink together under the moonlight, enjoying a brief moment of peace before the inevitable storm. Gao then asks about Man. Is it a certainty that he'll become the next leader? He lacks the reputation needed to claim that seat. Leiddon then begins to explain the enemy's strategy. Apparently, villages have been getting raided by demonic practitioners lately, and every single time it happens, Ma Gun miraculously swoops in to save the day. Leiddon lays it all out. It's a classic false flag operation. The cult creates a problem so that Chio Gun can conveniently solve it and look like a hero. They're manufacturing a heroic reputation for him. It's Murim Public Relations 101. By appearing to take revenge for his father and the villagers, he's building a narrative that the jianghu will swallow whole. As he speaks, Leiddon's eyes turn ice cold. At the end of the day, they're sacrificing innocent villagers just to install a puppet on the throne. Leiddon is not okay with this. The carefree slacker act is completely gone. What we're seeing now is pure, unadulterated martial god anger. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Machiolin is meditating. He looks focused, but a dark aura surrounds him. He's really leaning into this hero role, probably convinced he's doing the right thing. Suddenly a voice cuts through his thoughts. 3 days from now, Hasu Manor will be hit by a surprise attack. He snaps his eyes open to see a woman emerging from the shadows. She has the aura of a high-level demonic cultivator. She orders him to handle them again, but Shun finally snaps. Enough. I will not allow any more slaughter. So he does have a conscience. The woman just smiles knowingly. I know she mocks. That's why you've only punished them up until now, isn't it? She tells him he's doing a fine job. Everyone in the jianghu is singing his praises. She says he's become even more famous than Qian Hajin Leon's name from his past life. That remark hits him right where it hurts. Feeling a little guilty, she asks, playing him like a fiddle. She reminds him that he can't have it all. If you want power, you have to pay the price. Trying to be a good person on top of that is just selfish greed. Chiogun screams for her to stop, clearly losing the battle against his own ambition. She reaches out gently, touching his chin. It's okay. I understand how you feel. Her voice is like poison laced with honey, and he's completely paralyzed by it. He's becoming a side character in his own story. Her eyes glow with a hypnotic light as she uses demonic qi to manipulate his mind. You'll become the finest Merm Alliance leader in history. And just like that, he's fully brainwashed. The puppet strings have been reset. Meanwhile, back at the Alliance headquarters, Galarang is in his office, sitting across from another strategist who is almost certainly a cult mole. The man brings up the massacre at Hasu Manor, saying young Master Ma killed all the attackers. Gal just listens quietly. Now that he knows the truth, the mole's lies sound like terrible fanfiction. The mole continues saying the Alliance looks incompetent, and they need to hurry up and pick a new leader. He's clearly pushing an agenda. They're moving faster than I expected, Gal thinks to himself. He asks if the mole has a particular candidate in mind, playing the part of the clueless boss to perfection. The mole suggests the Heavenly Blade sect leader, Maun, a son avenging his father. Isn't that a compelling story? He's pitching the exact narrative Leon predicted. Gal just stares at him. Good for whom exactly? The mole doubles down. He claims it's for the good of the Jiang. Gal asks what would happen if he refused. The mole's expression turns icy. You refused before, didn't you? And you saw how that turned out. It's a direct threat, reminding Gal that the last time he stood in their way, they completely ruined his life. The mole sips his tea with a smug look, confident that he still has Gal trapped. Gal simply asks for some time to think. He needs to coordinate with Leon. The mole, of course, agrees and stands up to leave, patting Gal on the shoulder on his way out. It's the ultimate power move, a clear sign of disrespect. He leaves the room thinking he's won. But as soon as one door closes, another opens. Leon steps out from his hiding spot. He's been listening in the entire time and gets straight to the point. He's not here for pleasantries. He tells Gal he plans to follow his counsel completely. If Gal says kill, he'll kill. If Gal says run, he'll run. Gal is taken aback by this absolute level of trust. He's the brains of the operation. Leon is the sword. Leon asks for Gal's honest opinion on the proposal to make Maun the leader. Gal says they should actually accept it, prompting Leon to ask why. He's curious to see the master strategist at work. Gal explains that directly opposing them right now would be too difficult. If they install a different leader, the cult will just assassinate that person too. Besides, he knows Maun is already in their pocket. It's better to deal with a puppet you know than one you don't. Leon agrees. I'm of the same mind. They're totally on the same wavelength. Gal adds that they should put up a little token resistance so the cult doesn't get suspicious. Leon smiles. I'll leave that entirely to you. He has one more request before they wrap up. Can you get me access to the Heavenly Dragon Archive? Gal agrees to make the necessary preparations. He knows Leon isn't planning on going there to read poetry. Later that night, Leon approaches the archive, a massive tower of knowledge. Leon walks past the guards and pushes open the heavy wooden doors. The air inside smells of dust and ancient secrets. The doors thud shut behind him. Leon remembers coming here in his past life. He used to be a regular. He read everything he could trying to reach the realm of the Mind Sword, but eventually gave up. He feels a little guilty looking at the place now. He only came when he needed something, then ghosted the library for decades. Looking around, he sees this place truly has everything. Secret manuals, strategy guides, and artifacts that people would kill to get their hands on. He heads for a specific shelf. He knows exactly what he's looking for and pulls out a book. He looks exhausted, like a student about to cram for a final exam he never wanted to take. Compendium on Demonic Arts. Leon stares at the title. If he wants to stop the Shadow Cult, he needs to understand exactly what kind of hellish arts they're practicing. The research phase is officially over. The counteroffensive begins now. While the Alliance is busy picking its next leader, Leon is picking the very weapon that will eventually take that leader down. Things are about to get very, very complicated. We're back in the Heavenly Dragon Archive, the Murum's equivalent of a library's restricted section, where everything, including the books, can kill you. Leiddon is speed reading through the forbidden section like he's cramming for a final exam he completely forgot about. He's on the hunt for Chain Suai's technique, but it's not in the demonic booklets or among the unorthodox scrolls compiled by the Alliance scholars. This is definitely a problem. If the technique isn't demonic or unorthodox, it means Soyan is using something so ancient or rare that the modern world has forgotten it even existed. Our guy is actually sweating a little. He hates not having the answer key. He glares at the towering stacks of books. He's sifting through every single historical record, searching for a needle in a haystack made of old paper and bad vibes. Outside, the sun is beginning to rise. But inside the archive, Leiddon is still deep in the lore. He flips through one more dusty manual, his eyes darting across the pages with Martial God processing speed. Wait a second, his eyes widen. He's found it. It's the one piece of the puzzle that makes the whole picture look absolutely terrifying. The manual describes the white light shadowless God step. It's the signature movement technique of a man known a century ago as the Phantom Thief Qian Bumang. Leiddon smirks. Leiddon is back with Gal Sarang and he drops the name. Have you ever heard of the Phantom Thief? Gal takes a sip of his tea and nods. He explains that a century ago, this guy Qian Bumyang threw the entire Maroom into a state of absolute chaos. Leiddon asks what made him so strange. Gal explains that the man was a total eccentric. He didn't steal from the rich to give to the poor. He only stole from martial artists. Only from martial artists, Leiddon is intrigued. That's a very specific demographic to go out of your way to annoy. Gal adds that he didn't even steal the valuable stuff like spirit swords or secret manuals. He would literally just steal your spare change or your favorite shirt. Imagine being a grandmaster and getting your laundry snatched by a legendary thief. The craziest part is that he never actually used martial arts to engage in a fight. He just used this one mysterious footwork technique to evade everyone. Leiddon starts connecting the dots. That technique was the Shadowless God Step, and it's the exact same move Soyan used to eliminate the Alliance leader. Gal asks the obvious question. Why is Leiddon so interested in a pickpocket from a century ago? Leiddon drops the bomb. The technique Kian Soyan used that day was the Phantom Thieves. Gal's brain just hit a system error. He immediately grasps the terrifying implications. If Soyan is connected to the Phantom Thief, it means the Shadow Organization has roots that run much deeper than they ever suspected. Leiddon admits he doesn't know if it's a direct connection or if Soyan simply found the manual, so he tasks Gal with looking into the thief's whereabouts after he vanished. Gal nods. He's on it. The King of Intelligence is officially on the case. Ah, and take this, Leiddon says, reaching into his robe. He hands Gal a dusty book. Gal looks as if he's just been handed a live grenade. Isn't this the Ghostgate Escape Codex? Leiddon just casually hands over a treasure that could easily start a world war. He tells Gal it's not very useful for him, but it'll make Gal the most unkillable strategist in history. Gal is stunned. Are you seriously giving this to me? He's used to being treated like a disposable tool, not a valued partner. He tries to refuse, pointing out that this manual is so rare, it would cause a bloodbath if the Murum found out he had it. Leiddon doesn't care about the potential bloodbath. He looks at Gal with that ultimate boss energy. He tells him that if it helps Gal survive, nothing would make him happier. This is Leiddon building that character loyalty we talked about earlier. Gal is speechless. He's officially 100% Team Leiddon now. Cut to the Shadow Organization's hideout. It looks just as evil as you'd expect. The woman from before is fuming. You can practically hear her grinding her teeth from here. They've lost the Painless Core, the Demonic Banners, and even Elder Peon. Their S-tier roster is looking pretty thin right now. She realizes that if they don't find the person backing Gal soon, she's going to be the next one on the chopping block. She turns to Charlie, the guy with the forehead scar, and asks if he's found anything suspicious around Gal yet. No, not yet. Charlie looks bored, but you can tell he's plotting. She argues that killing Gal is easy, but finding the master, protecting him is the real mission. She thinks Soyan didn't kill Gal specifically to use him as bait. She's certain there's a formidable master hiding in Gal's shadow. Charlie mentions the new recruit who won Gal's trust almost instantly. He's actually looking at Leiddon, but he's viewing him through a very blurry lens. The woman scoffs. It's not him. Charlie looks at her. He's the only one in the room with half a brain cell left. She explains her logic. Leiddon is too young to be a master capable of killing Elder Peon. She thinks the brat is just a mascot. She adds that there's no way Soyan wouldn't have recognized a master that powerful if one were standing right in front of him. Charlie stays silent for a moment. He's not as convinced. He decides to make a move personally. He figures if they snatch Gal, the protector will have no choice but to reveal themselves. But a voice from the shadows tells him to hold on. It's his superior. She tells Charlie to stand down and sends in Lone Knight instead, with the secret assassins on standby. Charlie bows in acceptance. He agrees to follow orders, though you can tell he's not happy about it. The woman just smirks, confident that Lone Knight is more than enough to handle a kid and a washed-up strategist. Up on the rooftop, someone is zipping around with the choppy speed of a lagging character in an online shooter. Meet Lone Knight. He's bald, he's grumpy, and he looks like he's never missed a single gym day in his entire life. Right now, he's casing the Alliance compound. His mission is to find the target. The orders were simple: pretend to go after Galxiang to draw out and identify his protector. If the situation gets messy, his instructions are to just confirm who the protector is and get out of there. Thanks to his Lightfoot skills, he's convinced he's untouchable. He can't help but smirk, thinking this will be the easiest promotion of his life. He muses to himself that he possesses the best movement techniques of all the assassins. To him, movement is everything. He leaps across a wide gap, already imagining the easy credit he's about to earn. Famous last words, of course. Landing on a roof as silently as a whisper, he crosses his arms and peers down at Gal's office. He's peaked, and now it's all downhill from here. He slides quietly down the roof tiles and hangs upside down like a ridiculously buff bat to peek through the window. He sees Galeriang and Leiddon, who look like just two guys reading books. He confirms Galeriang is the target and then spots the kid named Leon. He dismisses Leon as just some background character and scans the area with his senses, but comes up with nothing. He figures the higher-ups must have gotten their intel wrong. He decides to threaten Gal a bit, just to see if this supposed protector shows up. Just as he reaches for a weapon, he blinks and Leon is gone. He was literally right there a second ago. A wave of panic hits Lone Knight. Where did he go? He starts frantically looking around like he's lost his car keys just as a presence materializes right behind him. Lone Knight reacts in a flash, whipping out and throwing a deadly needle. Got him. He thinks certain that the moment it connects, Leon will be dead. He spins around to confirm the kill, and his heart practically stops. Leiddon is standing there completely unfazed, holding the deadly needle between two fingers as if it were a toothpick. Leiddon asks nonchalantly, "Was this all you had, Knight?" as the two face off on the rooftop. Lone Knight is having a full-blown career crisis right now. He's sweating bullets, overwhelmed by the sheer killing intent rolling off Leiddon. This is definitely not intern-level pressure. "So it was you," he screams. Leon just plays dumb, replying, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Leon then casually mentions that the last old man he met said the exact same thing right before he stopped breathing. Lone Knight's eyes widen in horror. He finally realizes he's not the hunter here. He's the tutorial boss. He desperately unloads a volley of life-taking needles. Leon doesn't even bother to draw his sword. He simply weaves through the deadly projectiles as if he were just walking through a light rain. It dawns on Lone Knight that he has zero chance in a direct fight. He's an assassin, not a frontline tank. If this is the man who killed Elder Peon, then Lone Knight is officially in run-for-your-life territory. His only option is to rely on his superior body lightning technique to escape. He banks on being able to outmaneuver Leiddon across the rooftops. He bolts, becoming a blur of black cloth against the night sky. The plan is simple: get back to Cholgyol and report that this Bilidon is the master they've been searching for. He smirks, feeling safe in the knowledge that he's the fastest. He's now tearing through the trees at top speed. He's putting some serious distance between them. Or so he thinks. A quick glance back reveals nothing much to his relief. But wait, Leon is suddenly standing on a branch right beside him. How Lone Knight's face becomes a perfect portrait of pure terror. Leon just smiles. "You've come to just the right place." He continues. "It was getting a bit tricky back at the Merm Alliance." Basically, he's saying he let Lone Knight run to a more secluded spot so he could finish him off without making a scene. Lone Knight just screams for him to shut up and lunges forward. Leiddon deflects the attack with a casual flick of his wrist, and you can see the desperation mounting in Lone Knight. He's throwing everything he has at him, just hoping something will stick. Meanwhile, Leiddon is airborne, looking down on him like a disappointed parent. Lone Knight unleashes a punch with every ounce of his strength, and the impact creates a huge explosion of chi. Landing on a branch, Lone Knight grins triumphantly. "That's what you get for underestimating me." But that confident grin doesn't last long. When the smoke clears, Leiddon is standing in the middle of a swirling chi vortex, completely unharmed. And in his hand, he's holding about 12 needles. He begins spinning them in his hand, having caught every single projectile Lone Knight threw at him. "My turn," he says, and releases the needles. These needles aren't just flying, they're screaming through the air. Lone Knight tries to dodge, but it's useless. They're being guided by Leon's pure chi. He grunts in pain as they graze his arms and legs just before a massive blast of energy obliterates the tree. Lone Knight is sent flying, his world spinning. He crashes hard onto another branch, coughing and sputtering as he looks up. Leon is standing over him, the moonlight casting him as a veritable god of death. Lone Knight is utterly broken, finally understanding the immense gap in strength Gao Xiang had mentioned. Leon reaches out, that bored expression back on his face. Is this it? A massive wave of chi then erupts from Leon's hand. Lone Knight manages one final scream before the energy wave swallows him whole. For a fleeting moment, the brilliant blast turns night into day. The now lifeless body of Lone Knight plummets from the tree. Silence descends upon the forest again as Leiddon casually looks down at his handiwork. One down. But Leiddon isn't letting his guard down. He can already feel another presence watching him from the deep shadows of the woods. And there's the second assassin, Misha. He's hiding behind a tree, trembling in his boots. He's stunned that Lone Knight went down so easily. It's unbelievable how quickly he was handled. Misha suddenly realizes he's next on the menu. In a flash, Leiddon is right behind him. Well, now it looks like there was another one, he says cheerfully. Misha freezes in place. He didn't hear a single thing. Leiddon gives him a grin that's absolutely chilling. In a panic, Misha sets off a chi explosion to blast himself away and create some space. He leaps onto a branch in a desperate attempt to escape, screaming, "Damn it!" He knows he's hopelessly outclassed. Leiddon is way more powerful than they ever anticipated. Yeah, no kidding. He leaps down into a clearing he had already set up as a trap, which is crisscrossed with nearly invisible wires. He smirks, thinking, I didn't expect to actually use the invisible threads I set up beforehand, but this is perfect. His specialty is trap-based assassinations, and he's confident he's lured Leiddon right into a meat grinder. Go ahead, he thinks, try and follow me. The moment you try, your entire body will be diced. Meanwhile, Leiddon simply stands at the edge of the trap, observing, and calmly tilts his head. He begins to move, but not forward, he's spinning. An incredible whirlwind of chi bursts forth from Leiddon's sword. The so-called unbreakable threads are instantly shredded as if they were spiderwebs. That's quite an amusing little trick, Leiddon comments, sounding genuinely entertained. Misha's jaw drops. His ultimate trap was just completely deleted in less than a second. He tries to run, but it's useless. Leiddon closes the distance instantly. Misha takes a desperate swing, but Leiddon casually parries it without even looking. So you're an assassin too, just as I figured. Leiddon states, his voice devoid of warmth. They briefly clash, trading a few blows. Leiddon's eyes flare with that signature violent purple aura. Misha realizes with terror that he isn't looking at a man but a monster. A huge pillar of energy erupts from the ground, completely rearranging the landscape of the clearing. Misha finds himself trapped at the very center of the blast. Misha is screaming, but the sound is completely swallowed by the deafening roar of Leiddon's chi as the air fills with dust and smoke. Leiddon gazes down, thinking, that should do it. He touches down lightly, his landing, still powerful enough to form a small crater. Against all odds, Misha is still alive, though only barely. Leiddon lifts him by the throat. Who sent you? He asks. Misha just coughs up blood and glares his dedication to the cult unshaken. Leiddon doesn't have time for a monologue. He finishes him off with a single strike. That makes 2 assassins and 2 L's. Misha lies in the dirt, the invisible thread master, finally entangled in his own failure, while Leiddon's gaze drifts off toward the horizon. He knows the higher-ups are paying attention. His message has been sent. The Protector is out in the open now. He's the main event. The Shadow Organization just lost its eyes and ears within the Alliance, and now Leiddon is ready to take the fight straight to their doorstep,